Let's go down the drama pipeline once again, kids. Why not? I'm not nearly brain rotted enough. I'm not at the RFK literally has brainworm stage yet, so let's go for broke. There's no shortage of mind-melting nonsense on the internet, and now that this story has fully wrapped up nicely with a little bow on top, I think it's time to finally talk about it. You guys remember Chuggaaconroy? I do. I was honestly never a fan of him. I knew of his stuff, I checked him out a couple times, but his style never really clicked with me. That's not an indictment against him. Sometimes you just don't mesh with the guy's style. Chuggaaconroy, otherwise known as Emiliano Rodolfo Rosales Baru, that's quite the fucking name, or just Chugga, is one of the earliest video Let's Players. For those of you who are internet oldsters like me, you might remember that Let's Playing was originally a forum format where a person would post screen caps of their playthrough in a forum post, adding funny captions for each. But eventually somebody got the idea to do a video Let's Play, where you record yourself playing the game and basically doing a color commentary over it. Chugga was one of the first people to really hop on this trend, becoming one of the earliest popular Let's Play channels back in like 2008, when he would have been 18 years old.
What's going on, guys? This is Chuggaaconroy, and I'm actually I'm gonna do my first LP ever. This is of one of my favorite games, personally. This is Earthbound, probably a game all of you have heard of, but none of you have actually played, so I'm kind of hoping to get the word out about it a little bit more. Well, just sit back and enjoy.
Chugga is what we now call, in retrospect, a Nintentuber. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those guys who were all running around in 2010 wearing a Triforce t-shirt and cargo shorts?
You know, it's weird you worked on these videos for 6 months, but you're wearing the same shirt in all the videos. The shirt you're wearing today. That seems kind of strange.
I like the shirt.
Nintentubers focused almost exclusively on Nintendo first-party titles, or non-Nintendo games with a Nintendo aesthetic, like Undertale or Rare games or old-school RPGs. Nintentubers are actually a big reason as to why games like Banjo-Kazooie are retrospectively held in such high regard, despite frankly only having okay sales numbers. A bunch of Zoomers who grew up on 2010 YouTube heard their favorite guy rave about this old 1998 platformer, and so it became the zeitgeist. By the way, it doesn't mean that I think Banjo's bad, I love that game, but I also recognize that it was Nintentubers who took more niche products like that and helped make them more widespread online. One noticeable thing about Nintentubers is, because the content they cover is more child-friendly than your average Let's Player or streamer or reviewer, there's kind of this expectation that their community is also a soft, welcoming, chill, inclusive space, and Chugga's community was no exception. Many people who are fans of Chugga today, or who are former fans that no longer watch, but still have fond memories of their time in his community, they all tend to lean progressive politically, a fact that will become important as we actually get into the story. Chuggaaconroy's career continued after the internet zeitgeist moved on, and he would never again hit that Let's Play peak of popularity he enjoyed in the early 2010s. He's got a channel with over 1 million subs, but his recent videos get about as many views as mine do. The exception to this is, of course, his last video, the finale of his Pokemon Black and White 2 Let's Play. And I guarantee you, most of these people aren't showing up to see the video itself. They're here to see the comment section, as this was the final thing Chugga posted before the controversy went down and he left the internet. Alright, enough stalling. I've buried the lead enough. I've avoided YouTube's detection algorithms at this point long enough. They don't go looking for weird sexual content this deep in a video unless someone flags it. And don't you dare, you fucks. So let's get into it. It's time for the Ballad of Chuggaaconroy.
This attack is eerily realistic.
Everything is sexist. Everything is racist. And you have to point it all out.
On January 16th, 2024, the Twitter account Great Cheshire, also known as Lady Emily, vague posted this statement at 4:43 a.m. Scrolling through Reddit and seeing dozens of comments calling the popular YouTuber who sexually harassed you for several months last year a wholesome being, only green flags. I presume that Lady Emily posted this, went to bed, woke up, and then decided to elaborate, as at 12:30 p.m. on the same day she explained. Just to get it off my chest. Last year, Chuggaaconroy kept trying to get me to initiate erotic foot fetish roleplay with him, while he also had a girlfriend. What? This included sending shoes to my house under the guise of a gift, only to constantly ask for feet pics afterwards. Oh no, why does it always have to be the fucking foot guys, dude? Lady Emily provided some Discord DMs to prove her allegations. This first one is from June 11th, 2023.
I originally planned to go with black with a floral pattern. They lacked it in your size, so I went with what I thought was most likely to go with any clothes.
Honestly, great call, because I love black high tops but haven't had any in years.
It's my personal favorite shoe.
It's a great shoe. Goes with anything.
Do I get to see you in them?
The conversation cuts off here. Emily's next DM is from September of 2023.
I want to finish the series or at least get close so I can travel to Scotland to see my significant other soon.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize she was in Scotland.
Yeah, pretty far, but we're thinking of immigration next year. would you like to pick up where we left off last night? It dropped off suddenly. You tend to disappear. Gonna ping you once more. Well, hello, have a nice doctor's visit? Sorry to ping again, I just want to know. Damn, you're no fun. Kidding, just a little concerned.
Dude, she's clearly not responding because your "let's pick up where we left off last night" thing is obviously some weird online erotic roleplay shit that she's probably just not into. Chugga continued to one-sidedly message her on and off for like 2 months. Could this dude be any more thirsty?
I need it!
Regarding this, Emily said on Twitter, "Eventually, I started ignoring him because I wasn't sure how to navigate around him clearly trying to rope me into fetish shit, and in return, his messages to me got more frequent and aggressive." Now hold on, Chugga's clearly acting like a thirsty weirdo for sure. But let's be fair, these messages don't read as aggressive. They read as desperate or sad or lonely, but not aggressive. Lady Emily's use of the word aggressive here is important to remember for later. In Emily's next tweet, she said, "As far as I know, I'm not the only nor the first person he's done this to. He would try to assure me everything is fine while also clearly trying to initiate fetish italicized text RP." She included a few more logs with this post as well.
I was like, I could fix this, but it's funnier if it's flawed. At times I do miss the versatility of the old avatar. It was fun to mess with.
Is that the face you'd make if I ran off with your shoes at a con?
Lamau, something like that.
What would you even do?
Oh my god, dude.
Being forward with you because I'd rather not keep anything from you and let you make the best decision for you? I am into that, but only with my significant other. I just also like talking about shoes with people because it's also an interest. I talked with my SO about this when we started dating, and she told me I could talk about shoes with other people because it isn't sexual with my friends. It's just something I enjoy talking about with my friends too.
This is the next level of open relationship, guys, where it's open but only for foot fetish stuff. Like, imagine being this dude's friend and learning about all this, right? And you think back to when he was just talking to you about shoes all the time, and now he's claiming that even though he has a foot fetish, it's totally not sexual. Like, I don't think anyone buys this, bro.
Good, glad we understand each other. Walks up behind you and trips you with some fancy footwork. You thud to the ground and I tank your sneakers off in an instant. Haha, loser! Chucks them at you.
Yeah, this is some cringy IRC level shit I remember people doing on the internet when I was like 10 or something. For you Zoomers, I don't know what I'm talking about. Welcome to Dev Teaches You Youngsters About the World, Class 1. Before Discord, there was IRC. Basically the same thing, but there was no voice and no image embeds. There's only text. People used to speak like this all the time on IRC and do weird sexual roleplay shit on there fucking everywhere.
I'm looking for some good cyber sex.
Lady Emily continued in her Twitter thread. It had started with him attending my Pokemon Black streams last December and chatting. We started talking in DMs because he seemed chill. Then on June 4th, I uploaded a selfie and he zoomed into my shoes in the background and he messaged me about them. Here's the tweet with Lady Emily's selfie. Man, he really did just CSI this shit, didn't he?
Magnify that death sphere. Why is it still blurry?
Making it bigger doesn't make it clearer.
It does on CSI Miami.
Nice sneakers.
LOL, thank you. I need new ones, TBH. My everyday pair is starting to see some damage, lol.
Seems sadly typical due to thick fabric.
Yeah, the curse of liking shoes that aren't durable. Got them on sale though, so for $20, can't complain. Hope you've been doing well.
So like, do you have a P.O. box?
Not at the moment, no.
Oh, well, I was going to see if I could partake in birthday niceness. If I may be so bold, sneaker size?
Oh, generally around blank, give or take, but that's usually what works most often.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear in these DMs that Lady Emily keeps trying to talk about video games or something else, while Chuggaaconroy keeps bringing the conversation back around to her shoes. She admits as much in the next post. Convos would derail suddenly. One moment we would be talking about Nintendo games, and then it would shift immediately to feet talk. He was very persistent in commenting on how big my feet are. I try to respond with blunt jokes to make the vibes less creepy out of nerves. Okay, listen, if he's coming on to you with the feet shit and you don't like it, why don't you just directly tell him, hey listen, I'm not into feet, I'm not into you, please stop. We saw this with the Super Mega shit too, where Lex was like, yeah, I wasn't into it, but I just didn't know what to do, so I just let Dawn do whatever he wanted to me. Hell, this situation is even less justifiable, because this time it's over Discord. Emily, what do you mean, out of nerves? Just tell the dude to fuck off and block him. Anyway, Lady Emily posts a couple of videos next, with Discord DMs in them, where it's very clear that she is at least somewhat playing along with this. So let's continue on.
Okay, well, I'll figure something out. Not sure if you have any dislikes from me to be aware of.
I'm sure whatever you get me, I'll like.
How nice of you.
Of course.
Dude, this isn't a person who was just playing along with creepy foot guy out of nerves. This is a person who wants a new pair of shoes, baby.
Who's gonna pay my rent? $350.
Sent you some stuff today. I had a plan A I couldn't do because your feet were too darn big. So I went with a different idea.
Ooh, lol, I'm excited to see what it is. Thank you so much.
Wow, you, took what I said surprisingly well.
Lamau, I know my feet are big. It's a thing. I'm curious what plan A was.
Really? It's a thing you joke about?
I mean, it's not something I advertise, but it's just kind of a fact of life.
That's a fair stance on the issue. I'm lucky I'm a 12. One size bigger and no shoe stores would carry my size.
Ah, yeah, that's lucky. I'm lucky that HRT made my size shrink, which is very, very rare.
Oh, HRT. Oh, this is starting to make a lot more sense now, guys. Why Lady Emily is going kind of unhinged on this whole thing? I get it now. As always, not all trans people. You guys know that I'm friends with a whole bunch of trans women who don't act like this. But you cannot deny there is an intersection of progressivism and being trans, which creates some very unhinged people. The next bit, though, is the real reason this story went viral. Hold your breath, guys. No, really, it might actually smell over the internet.
Okay, I'm gonna miss your shoes. It was kind of nice being their caretaker again. Looks at them in my hands. As hard as it was at times, they stunk horribly.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. It is what it is.
Man, big and stinky, you've got it all. 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 Big and stinky. Got it all. Stinky. Got it all. Big and stinky.
This is what lit the internet on fire. The unadulterated cringe of the comment, big and stinky, you've got it all. Chugga's massive foot fetishery getting blown out in public is what made everyone pay attention. I know Lady Emily was going for the whole, OMG, I'm just a tiny defenseless trans girl and this huge influential white male content creator was slipping into my DMs sexually harassing me angle, but frankly, nobody outside of the progressive circles gave a shit about that. We were all laughing at the whole big and stinky thing. Well, that's the end of Lady Emily's Twitter thread. Chuggaaconroy publicly responded to it a few hours later with a simple, straightforward apology, and a promise that he was going to collect his thoughts and come back with a proper response, which he did a few days later, in a very long Facebook post. This is huge and frankly not all worth going over. A lot of it is just self-flagellation in an attempt to keep his progressive audience on side, because he's getting Me Too'd and he knows it. But let's check out a few of the important parts. Firstly, he directly addresses Lady Emily.
I shouldn't have assumed you were just busy with traveling and that things were fine. I only began putting it together when the silence continued. I pestered you for too long and I apologize for doing so. When you communicated this to me privately a few months ago, I apologized to you directly and I promised I would never repeat this kind of behavior again with anyone else. Once you shared how I made you feel, it was a huge wake-up call, and I immediately sought professional help through therapy.
Hold on, if Lady Emily already approached Chuggaaconroy privately months before going public and told him, this isn't okay, dude, and he responded by admitting fault, apologizing, and going to therapy, then why the fuck did you make this public? He's already doing everything he should do. It's not like he was refusing to rectify the situation or threatening you or something, and so your only option was to bring it to the court of public opinion. The only possible reason I can think of why Lady Emily started this whole shit show is because she wanted him to burn. Chugga also replies to the while he had a girlfriend part of Lady Emily's initial post.
I would like to briefly clear up speculation about my relationship. I love my girlfriend, she was aware that this conversation took place, consented to it, and saw what was posted. It crossed no line set between us at the start of our relationship, and we are still together. I trust her to tell me if I do something to upset her.
Okay, it seems like he wasn't actually cheating if this is true, even though the Chugga is a cheater thing is still part of the narrative today. Let's keep going.
Separately from above, I also want to touch on online discussion about other previous comments I've made about shoes over the years. Fitness and footwear are among my hobbies and not strictly fueled by anything more. I can get passionate about my interests, and I now understand how this can come across and how it can negatively affect others.
Okay, dude, I've been on your side for most of this, Chugga, but this is cope. We all know this is not a passion for fitness and footwear. You weren't born yesterday. We all know you've been filling up shoes with spunk like an unneutered dog. You're probably a longtime fan of WikiFeet, printing off pictures and nutting on them constantly. And hey, that's okay, you do you. You're not the only person I know with a weird foot fetish. But bro, you're not fooling anyone. Lady Emily responded to Chuggaaconroy's apology on Twitter, saying that she's not sure she fully accepts the apology because Chugga's framing of their interactions as a simple mistake goes against the testimonies of what she claims are a half-dozen women who have all come forward privately to share their stories and establish a pattern of bad behavior on his part. And for a while, that was that. Progressives began to scream about how evil Chuggaaconroy was for taking advantage of a poor defenseless trans girl, but most people saw this for what it was, a canceling attempt against a large YouTuber who exists in progressive spaces and has some progressive cred, because Lady Emily wanted the clout of being his friend and having him send her gifts, while also being too chicken shit to put her foot down when he started messaging her about weird foot stuff. Chugga just doesn't come off in these DMs as the aggressive sexual assaulter that Emily's trying to paint him as. And frankly, I think if she had been more direct, he probably would have apologized and stopped from the get-go. Is it weird and funny? Fuck yeah. Does this need to be policed by the cancel crew? No. But we all know how canceling events go. After the dam breaks, they all start flooding through.
I'm breaking in a brand new pair of shoes.
Once it became clear that Lady Emily's allegations on their own were not enough to take Chuggaaconroy down, people began to drop other allegations like clockwork. On January 23rd, 2024, one day after Chugga's apology, fellow Let's Player MasaeAnela, I can't pronounce that, she dropped her own allegations. I actually have a vague memory of Masae from before she really blew up. We might have interacted briefly at a convention once way back in like 2010 or something. She wasn't a big Let's Player back then, but she was trying hard to break into the space. I also remember that she used to post her stuff regularly to the Let's Play subreddit, presumably trying to gain traction that way too. I remember checking out her stuff a few times and thinking it was interesting, because she was a woman who actually had a decent sense of humor, operating in a primarily male space. But she just didn't hook me in, and I soon forgot about her. However, my general background internet knowledge told me that she ran in the Runaway Guys circle and was a part of that friend group. The Runaway Guys are a collaborative project between Chuggaaconroy, ProtonJon, and NintendoCapriSun, who are all also Nintentubers and Let's Players. Unlike Lady Emily, Masae's allegations contain no private DMs or logs or anything like that proving it. She's simply retelling her own experiences. I won't torture Naomi with having to do voice acting for this one, since there's frankly not much meat on the bone here, and like we found out back in the Skullgirls video, Naomi can't do an Asian accent. Here's a quick summary of what's being said. Masae hasn't been friends with Chugga for years. Any collaboration they previously recorded and was uploaded after their falling out was done without her consent. She's uncomfortable with how he's talked about her and other women in the past, in both private and public. She claims that Chugga is the type to always push boundaries. Him having a huge following makes this tendency dangerous, and she felt like she had to just tolerate it for her own career. She's received apologies from him privately over the years too, and frankly, she's just out of fucks to give. At the end, Masae draws a line in the sand. She will not attend any event where Chugga is present, for her own safety, and she will no longer tolerate being asked about him. That makes it sound like he fucking raped her or some shit. Like, yeah, I know she doesn't come out and say it, but this is a very serious set of stipulations to implement if it were just a friendship that soured over the years. Because Chuggaaconroy was public enemy number 1 at the time, and Masae is a popular female creator in a very progressive and very male-dominant space, everyone latched onto her story as if it was evidence that Chugga was pure evil or something. But you know what? I just don't see it. After this story dropped, fucking everyone in the Let's Player space came out in support of Masae and against Chuggaaconroy. MissFushi said, "Chuggaaconroy has made me feel uncomfortable on many occasions. I am not okay with him contacting me, and I will not be a part of any event he participates in. I was afraid about posting this publicly, but I have to share." AntDude said, "Chugga and I were friends in the past, like way longer than many would believe, but many actions of the last few years have created a considerable wedge. From my perspective, he is not somebody I want to be associated with going forward." Sunflower ASMR claims that she's had multiple uncomfortable experiences with Chugga, where he encouraged her to enact foot fetish roleplay. Brett Ultimus, Masae's boyfriend, wrote a short thread simply standing by his girl and adding nothing of substance to the conversation, just repeating what's been said before. There's no proof of any of this, by the way. These guys are just shitting stories out onto the internet now that the floodgates are open. People are fucking shameless in how they jump onto a dog pile. It's this period of time, the 23rd to the 24th, when the canceling of Chuggaaconroy really took off, emboldened by Masae. Remember when I said earlier that Nintentubers often would cultivate an audience of soft millennial kids back in the day, who have since grown into today's cancel-happy progressives? Well, those people began to come out of the woodwork. Story after story of somebody who was a big fan of Chugga when they were younger, and how it's shattered them that he's been revealed to be a sexual assaulter, and how could this be happening? Wasn't Chugga one of the good ones? Probably the most unhinged take came from this giga retard, who is a 29-year-old transbian who hates minors and capitalists. She posted what is basically Pascal's wager for the terminally online. Just follow this handy flowchart, guys. Somebody is a potential victim of grooming. If you chose to believe their words and their accusations were false, you were wrong, but you did the right thing supporting a possible victim. If the accusations were true, you've supported a grooming victim. If you don't choose to believe their words and the accusations were true, you've just defended a groomer. And if the accusations were false, you were technically correct, but as a result, more people are more likely to disbelieve true claims, making it harder for victims. The worst that happens from you supporting a potential victim is being incorrect. The worst that can happen from you discrediting one is you defend a groomer. No, you stupid bitch. When you are incorrect in supporting a potential victim, that means you've supported a fucking liar who is trying to destroy someone's life with a false allegation. This person is genuinely disgusting. It doesn't even register to them that a person who is a victim of a false allegation is a fucking victim. The best is yet to come though, guys. Hold on to your butts. The next day, January 25th, the craziest allegations of them all dropped.
I love little girls, they make me feel so good.
A Pokemon and Sonic speedrunner, Westerlobe, posted this on Twitter. I'm sharing the story of a close friend of mine to allow her to maintain anonymity. She feels it's relevant to share, given the dynamic started when she was 15 years old and Chuggaaconroy was 19. This friend of Westerlobe's is named Lolly. Yes, that's spelled Lawly and pronounced Lolly, which is frankly fitting for what we're about to hear. Lolly outlined her accusation in a Google Doc.
I've known Chuggaaconroy since late 2009, and we started speaking as friends starting early 2010. We started talking because of a cringe video I made doing voice lines for Gigas. I was so excited to meet and talk to my hero, as at the time, I didn't have many friends, so it felt extra special to have someone as important as him showing interest in speaking with me. At the time, Chugga used AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, and I had a potato PC that couldn't run it, so I used this thing called Meepo, which let me use AIM in a browser to speak with him.
You know, I remember the AIM and ICQ days too. I also remember those weren't exactly resource-intensive programs. This Lolly person must have had like the mid-90s gray family PC still kicking around or something like that. Oh, I guess this is Dev Teaches Zoomers About the Old Internet, Lesson 2. AIM, MSN Messenger, and ICQ were chat programs popular in the 90s and early 2000s. They were more user-friendly than IRC, and initially only allowed for direct messages from person to person, though they did add chat rooms later. It was basically just texting, but it only worked on a computer.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything.
The internet changed our lives.
I saved the logs and a message to myself on Gaia Online because of how precious they were to me at the time. I haven't used this site in years, but the recent allegations against Chugga made me really start to think and question our friendship. I dug up everything and started to read through all the old messages between us and, it's bad. Beyond the 2010 era cringe. He said things to me while I was underage that are not okay. It never occurred to me when I was younger how bad the situation was. At the time, I was so excited my hero was talking to me and showing interest in me. For years, I was friends with him and never really thought about how bad the situation actually was. I'm still coming to terms with all of it, and to be honest, I'm not really sure how I should feel. I know it's not right though. Speaking that way to a minor is unacceptable, and I worry if anyone else has been affected and also might be too afraid to speak out.
Well, from what it seems like, you're not actually afraid to speak out, even though that's what you're implying here. Rather, this reads like you just forgot all this shit happened until Chugga was getting cancelled. Anyway, Lolly logged back into her old Gaia Online account from her childhood, where she had saved the AIM messages by sending them to herself using the game's mail function. Another Dev Teaches Zoomers About the Old Internet, back to back. Gaia Online was an extremely popular and cringe online game back in the day that was basically a hug box catered to soft millennial kids who would eventually grow up to be the cancel-happy progressives we know today. During the 2000s, not every computer could actually play new video games, as graphics cards had not yet become a common component of every PC. As a result, there were a lot of simplistic browser-based games floating around, like Gaia Online and many others, so that kids who were stuck using the old family PC still had something they could play. Even though these are logs from AOL Instant Messenger, they've been mangled due to Lolly sending them through the Gaia Online in-game mail system. Nonetheless, there's still a ton of legible information for us to go over. The first page is just Chugga and Lolly talking about Nintendo games, and how many messages that Chugga gets daily from fans. And yeah, this conversation has that 2010 era cringe to it, with the XD and the italic descriptions of their actions. But would you believe it if I told you that these conversations turned a little bit weird?
I have a Dragon Roost Island remix in there that I've listened to over 200 times.
I rape my songs apparently, so yeah.
I'm gonna rape you. Sorry, cat quotes.
Would it really be rape now? Rape is unwilling. Sorry, me being a retard.
It's cool. Not as bad as the 12 to 14-year-old girls who write to me telling me of their massive crushes on me, which is hilarious because they don't even know what I look like.
It's not totally impossible to be in love without knowing what someone looks like. Spends way too much time on online sites. And le question?
Yes?
Just how old do you think I am?
18?
I'm flattered. Really? I'm only 15, turning 16 this year.
Oh, Jesus.
What? Why does everyone always think significantly higher or lower?
Whenever I meet people, if they see what I look like, they think I'm only 16. If they just hear my voice online, they think I'm in my mid-20s. I'm really 19.
Works out in the middle. I'm not sure what people think of my appearance. I've been said to look old and young. And, well, you heard my voice.
Creepy demonic voice.
I'm not that scary, or am I? Dun, dun, dun!
And then Chugga abruptly changes the topic back to the video he's editing. At this point in the timeline, the narrative surrounding Chuggaaconroy rapidly shifted. Before, he was a cheater and a foot fetishist and a sex pest, who had been slapped with a scattershot of random accusations, many of them without proof. But after this came out, in the eyes of the public, he's now a pedophile. He's 19, she's 15, she's underage, he's a child raper. That's the narrative.
Do you sit in this chair?
Yeah, I sit here, I got my controller here, and I'm able to just look at the TV and...
Of course, in reality, there is nuance to this situation, considering that the rape joke is clearly a joke, and at least in this conversation, he didn't repeat it after she revealed her age. But we'll save that discussion till the end of the logs, since there's a lot more to come. Let's keep going.
The game.
You suck.
I love you too.
I know you do.
You secretly love small children. Don't deny it.
You're only a few years younger. Yay, creeping.
I know that, but it's still pedophilia. But it's okay. The law will never stop us. And I have no idea what's wrong with me. Lack of sleep.
Sounds like my life.
Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me.
You throw out your mop and broom?
I had 1 or 2. Wait, what? I had those?
Just like you had sneakers.
Oh no.
But I don't. You do, and I wear them when you're not looking.
You mean like now?
But you're looking, so no!
Notices a bulge in your boot. Hey, wait! Pushes you down and snatches off your boots. You wear my sneakers inside your boots?
This video is sponsored by Vessi Footwear.
You're cheating!
Rape! Rape! Blows the rape whistle!
Gah! Crams my feet into the boots since I have no other shoes to run in. Runs.
Boot fetish! Chases after you in your shoes. When I catch you, jumps on.
Gah! Is pinned. Please, have mercy.
Ha ha! You got pinned by a girl. Has no idea what to do on top. Noms?
On top?
Yes, I am a top. Which means you're a bottom?
Guess it's not pedophilia if you're the one doing the raping.
Rapes. And to law it is. And is it rape?
You're not gonna rape your boots off me, are you? Doh! Close his mouth.
What a lovely idea. Rapes the boots off. However that works.
No! Give me back my shoes!
They're all mine! And so are you! Insert various inappropriate stuff here.
You sure love raping me.
You sure love being raped, but that means it's willing, and willing rape is sex. So now, it's pedophilia.
My feet are cold. Can I please have my shoes back?
Fine. Whines and hands shoes back reluctantly.
Yay! Puts them on before my feet freeze.
Oh boy, okay. If we ignore the age thing for a minute, yes, I know it's a big thing to ignore, just roll with us. This is peak 2010 erotic RP cringe. The emotes, the thing where you role play running around being hyper, the use of over-the-top sexuality, and frankly, a non-sexual goofy manner. And add to all this the fact that Chuggaaconroy would be doing weird feet shit in Lady Emily's DMs 13 years later. Yeah, there's a lot of strange things going on here. It's clear that the majority of the interaction is being facilitated by Lolly. She's probably very excited to be talking to a big YouTuber who she very clearly has a schoolgirl crush on. This is like a decade before the term parasocial became part of the mainstream, but this is clearly parasocial behavior looking back on it. Chugga, for his part in it, is a mostly passive participant. He doesn't really initiate it, but he also doesn't shut it down either. He certainly engages and moves things along sometimes, but it's clear that Lolly is the one who's mostly directing the conversation. Now, when you consider the fact that Chugga knows that he's 19 and she's 15, this gets a whole lot weirder. What he should be doing is shutting down any of that talk that flirts with the sexual stuff right away. He is the adult here. It's his responsibility. Lolly is the 15-year-old fangirl who is thinking, a 4-year age gap isn't that big of a deal. And you know what? No one would bat an eye if this was like 18 and 22. But Chugga is the 19-year-old YouTuber who, at the time, was blowing up. He had to know this girl was infatuated with him and that what was happening wasn't right. Does this make him like a pedo rapist or something? Like, is he morally on the same level as someone who fucks a baby? Obviously not. But there's clearly still some level of inappropriate here. And speaking of inappropriate...
Lolly's a lolly. FKU in there.
Son of a... That was unintentional. Fuck you. But still.
But yeah, I actually had a normal sleeping time today.
It's the end of the world. And yes, my nickname is Lolly.
Hey, with your cosplays, you really are a lolly.
Please tell me you don't know the actual meaning of lolly.
Lolly has a much nicer ring to it than pedo crush.
Oh God, you know the meaning. Dead. Lolly is prepubescent though.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Lolly's Google document contains way more logs, this time in pure text format. What we've been looking at so far are just the Gaia Online screen caps that Lolly shared with the internet. She apparently copied and pasted their entire contents into this doc, and there's something like 40 pages of logs here. There is no way I'm going to have Dave and Naomi read all of these out for this video. I'm just going to point out the important things going forward. If all of these are accurate, the first log provided is from January 21st, 2010. It's in this conversation that Lolly tells Chugga she's 15. It's not necessarily bad that Chugga keeps talking with her despite being 19, but he should be actively discouraging any of the sexual talk that Lolly's initiating. Yes, she is initiating. She's clearly got a crush on him, but he should be the responsible party here. At the beginning, Chugga is clearly trying to ignore it. Like, for example, that one moment where he says, "You suck," she replies with, "I swallow," and then he ignores it and says, "I think I'll go to the store and get that Slurpee." He's not stopping it, but he's also not engaging with it. But by March 4th, 2010, Chugga is saying stuff like, "You wish you were old enough for this." Lolly says, "Nuh-uh." Chugga replies, "Sure you do." Lolly says, "Why must Chugga always insist on saying I like him?" Chugga says, "You totally do." Lolly repeatedly denies it. I mean, this could be that flirty, "I don't like you, tee-hee" shit on Lolly part. It could also just be 2010 teenage hyperactivity, who knows? The point is that Chugga is actively engaging now. Over the 6 months of these logs, Chugga and Lolly both talk about how they seem to lead depressed lives, how they both have romantic prospects in real life that are kind of falling apart. They talk about video games. There's a ton of sexual innuendo here. There's a whole bunch of edgy jokes related to rape, necrophilia, slavery, suicide. And through it all, Chugga keeps making jokes about how much Lolly obviously wants to fuck him, all of which she denies, while frankly acting like she actually wants to fuck him. I'll leave the link to the document in the description, in case you want to read the whole thing for yourself. But in my opinion, there is a lighthearted air to all of this. Yes, it's raunchy, but there's also a wistful innocence here. It feels like they both know nothing here will ever actually go anywhere. Whatever connection they have is temporary and fleeting. And while their offline lives go to shit, they're just goofing around enjoying each other's company until this friendship inevitably ends. The issue, once again, is that Chugga's 19 and Lolly's 15. He shouldn't be doing this. I remember being on Wix channel a few months back, talking about the Vosh horse lolly thing, and talking about the psychology of why people like Lolly with Wick, Brianna Wu, and counterpoints. There was definitely a period where, like, when I was the same age as the underage girls and I was watching it, I was like, this is clearly meant for me, because this is a 15-year-old girl being sexualized and I'm 15. And then, like, there's definitely a bleed over effect when you're like 18 or 19. You're still watching the same stuff because it still interests you, but you're like, hold on a minute, I'm a little bit older now. When you watch it, you kind of, you go back into the headspace of when you were 15. And you have to realize, oh, I'm not 15 anymore. This is kind of weird, isn't it? Eventually I got to a point where, like, when I watched something like Attack on Titan that's not sexualized at all, I'm just like, it's just a show. And I'm now at a point where watching girls walk around with their tits out in anime is just not as appealing as I've gotten older. And my taste has just changed away from it.
This is an important thing, though. So I feel like when you stunt emotionally or socially, then you're going to stay in the milieus of your teenagehood. So if you don't have sexual partners, if you don't have an advanced social relationships, if you don't have, you know, a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, then you're going to stunt towards like the end of your teenage development. And then as a result, the reason why it's weird is because if you're still mentally or emotionally 15 or 16, but you are 32 or 34, then I think you're correctly impugned for not maturing.
I think what happens with a lot of people who are depressed or developmentally stunted or terminally online or any of the other number of ways your life can stall out is that they sometimes lose track of how old they are on an emotional level. You know, when you graduate from school and go off to college, or graduate college and find a job, or when you get married, these are all transitory periods of life marked by a ceremony. You're entering into a new phase of your life, and you can't go back, no matter how much you want to. But the process of going through the ceremony provides some emotional closure. The reason we have sayings like, one door closed, another one opens, or everything has a season, is to help reinforce the one-way nature of life, as it seems to be a pretty common experience for a person to get trapped somewhere back in the past. I think the lifestyle of a YouTuber or a streamer is especially prone to this type of pitfall. If your channel takes off during college, or heaven forbid during high school, as your peers move into the normal next stage of life, you end up going down a different path, if you do this job professionally. Sure, there's a lot of success to be had, but it can also be pretty lonely. You're somewhat isolated from the rest of the world, as a lot of the necessary work is done alone. Normal life pressures don't seem to apply as much, and instead there's a bunch of concerns that are relatively unique to content creation. Many people have noticed that streamer and YouTuber spaces all operate like high school cliques, and I think it's because a lot of the people in them have actually stagnated developmentally. Now, think back on Chuggaaconroy. It's 2010. Professional YouTubing is still in its infancy. Chugga's blowing up online. He's making good money just for playing video games on the internet. Tons of people online know him and love him. He's become an internet household name. People want to be him. People want his job. They want to be his friends. He's got copycats. He's got admirers. There's fangirls who are into him. And he's starting a whole new genre of YouTube. Meanwhile, back in his real life, in the real world, he's 19 years old. He's attending college, which he described as a mid-experience at best. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. He's got no play with girls. He's still living in his mom's basement, and his family situation isn't great. To a guy like this, the online world would be a lot more tempting than whatever he has going on IRL. And unlike most other internet-addicted losers, he can actually live on his work. So why not? Plus, he's lonely. This lolly girl seems cool and is really into him. The age gap's only 4 years, but that's not going to matter down the line. Yeah, it looks bad, but he knows deep down he's not a creeper. He's a good guy. She's into it too. No one's being hurt. This might be his only chance at actually being happy. Yeah, I'm probably overanalyzing this, but this is what a lot of lonely guys say when they described getting wrapped up in a romantic experience with a girl who is just a bit too young. They're not actually attracted to kids. They're isolated people intimidated by the real world who have yet to internalize the fact that they are now adults. They have this self-perception of them being younger than they actually are, due to their developmental stagnation. There's a good possibility that this is what happened to Chuggaaconroy, whether he knows it or not. I'm not excusing anything, by the way. I'm simply describing the thought process. Alright, that's enough sappy music. Let's talk about what Chugga actually did wrong, as well as the public reaction to it. I understand everyone's initial knee-jerk response of completely blowing the man off the internet. An adult talking to an underage girl about lollies and pedo crushes is an optics nightmare. He obviously shouldn't have done this, but at the same time, cringe logs between a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old from 15 years ago, during a significantly more edgy time on the internet, that are flirtatious and straddle the border of being overtly sexual without ever actually crossing that border, are not the same thing as like child porn or child rape or grooming. There are degrees of bad, guys. Not everything is the worst possible thing. Was what Chugga did bad? Yes. But let's have some nuance, people. Lady Emily actually replied to Westerlobe's lolly tweet, saying, "I'm so sorry your friend went through this. This is horrifying." It's an online chat from 15 years ago. He still shouldn't have done it, but both individuals involved are completely different people now. There's no evidence Chugga's continued with predatory behavior towards other underage fans. This was clearly just a mistake on his part. Calling this horrifying just feels like Lady Emily is hitching herself to the continuation of the drama, probably in an attempt to retroactively make her own story seem stronger. The logs continue until August 12th, 2010, where they abruptly end in the middle of what looks like probably the 5th foot-related RP. Lolly writes, "Yes, it really does just end here. Blame 15-year-old me." I guess she just forgot to copy the rest of the logs into her Gaia Online account and never got back around to doing it. I think she knows just how much of this was also unacceptable from her position, despite being the underage party herself, because at the beginning of the doc she writes, "Please read these logs with your own discretion, as a lot of the language that I and Chugga use is dated and extremely unacceptable to say. 2010 times were really something different, and these caused me physical pain to read over." Yeah, it hurt me reading these logs too, but I think it's for a very different reason than you. Personally, I remember the exact type of chick that Lolly was back in the day, and every single one of them that I met on IRC or whatever, they were all fucking insufferable. Here is probably the funniest bit of all. Lolly actually kept in contact with Chugga. Yeah, I know she's trying to recast these logs as proving that Chugga is a manipulator or a groomer or something, claiming at one point that I'm not sure he ever truly saw me as a friend. But nonetheless, they kept in contact long after those AIM logs. Lolly provides Discord logs of them talking back in May of 2021, long after they've both moved into the adult stage of their life. And just take a guess at what you think they talked about.
I look at a foot and it's a foot, a proto-hand.
Well, I recall yours had something awfully unusual about them.
Did they?
Have you been in those shoes undisturbed for 12 years? 'Cause I'm not sure I can picture what it was.
I'm saving them for marriage.
I guess I shouldn't joke around if you don't like the idea of this, but would you want to do that?
Do what?
Do what we used to, one more time.
What did we do? Am I forgetting something? Or are you bullying me again, Christ?
I mean, do that shoe thing we did as teenagers.
That's right, old Chugga is going after her big and stinkies all these years later. Lolly describes this as strange and transactional, and even though she was uncomfortable, she did it because she didn't want to kink shame him. Holy shit, dude, is this Lolly chick a complete fucking pushover? You know you can have your own boundaries and enforce them, right? You don't just have to do what other people tell you? I feel like if I went up to this chick and said, yo, my kink is having sex with you, and if you deny me, you're kink shaming me, there's at least a possibility she might be like, oh, that seems legit, and immediately go ass up, vagina to the sky. Lolly says that the point she's making here is that while the foot stuff is fine for two adults to do, it is the same type of stuff that Chugga did with her when she was 15. Exposing your kink to a 15-year-old, even if they don't perceive it as sexual, because to most normal people it wouldn't be, is still bad. And you know what? Fair enough. Point taken. The logs continue after they negotiate a bit about how the foot RP is gonna go.
We were at some kind of party together as friends, but suddenly we're driven out of the house and the other party guests are chasing us like some angry mob. They're shouting that when they catch us, they're going to do terrible things. I shout as I run alongside you, gah, what'd you even do to piss them off this badly?
I shrug my shoulders awkwardly as I try to keep up with you. Trade secret, don't worry about it. A smug grin crosses my face as I recall the horror that I may or may not have unleashed upon an unsuspecting crowd.
The guard holding his nose replies, it seems to detect toxic chemicals on you, but it couldn't be, could it? People in line are shoving their way forward to the front. The people in the back, hearing the commotion, want a view of whatever's going on. Holy fuck, what? Oh, how? What a show. Damn, does this hurt having such enormous feet? A small child shouts at you, hey lady, can I touch them for $5? And the crowd of people laughs. The shame is unbearable, unimaginable, indescribable.
Okay, there's no fucking way that this is Chugga's interests in fitness and footwear coming to the forefront here, guys. This dude is absolutely fisting and destroying his cock while writing this shit one-handed. In any case, this was the final nail in the coffin for Chuggaaconroy. He was reeling from the previous accusations, but this was the knockout punch. Within the next couple of days, a whole bunch of events kicked off in rapid succession.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
The timeline of events so far looks like this. On January 16th, 2024, Lady Emily drops her allegations. They gained some traction, but don't seem to really go anywhere. And in fact, some fans are actually skeptical of her story, and they begin asking questions. On January 20th, 4 days later, Lady Emily acknowledges this isn't exactly going how she'd hoped, so she releases more logs in an attempt to shit-stir further, which also doesn't really work. Yeah, I know I haven't covered those yet. We'll look at that additional release a little bit later in the video. Don't you worry, I'm not skipping anything. On January 22nd, Chugga makes that Facebook post where he apologizes to Emily, clarifies a few things, and promises to do better. For the most part, this kills the momentum of the canceling event. But the next day, January 23rd, Masae drops her allegations, and other minor players also begin to step forward. Chugga disappears at this point. No videos, no comments on Twitter. He just vanishes, and, spoiler alert, he remains gone for months. On January 25th, Lolly drops her accusations, and it's at this point the entire internet seemingly makes up their collective mind about Chuggaaconroy being public enemy number 1. His fans by and large abandoned him, with more and more people coming out saying stuff like, I can't believe I used to like him, or I'm in mourning right now. And of course, the accusations got more severe with each retelling, with people on Twitter saying that Chuggaaconroy was a rapist or a full-on pedophile. Minor acquaintances, or even just random Let's Players he had never even collaborated with, began to put out long tweet threads or blog posts talking about how they disavow and how bad this makes their community look. Every single person was looking to push themselves ahead just a little bit by kicking off of the body of the drowning man. At this point, though, even Chugga's professional connections started to sever ties.
Here's the story of TRG.
Remember the Runaway Guys? That collaborative project between Chugga, ProtonJon, and NintendoCapriSun? Well, the webmaster for their website, a fangirl named Canadian Chili, took the site down with ProtonJon's permission. It was initially meant to be temporary, but she later said that Chugga is twisted and deserves either a criminal case or karmic retribution. The Chuggaaconroy subreddit was closed down by its owner, Cedars PhD, who said, "I can't believe I've wasted 10 years on helping Chugga while he used his position to do terrible things. I feel gross." The account LP Catchphrases, dedicated to posting viral clips of Let's Players who are in the orbit of the Runaway Guys, was also shut down by its owner, who said that he couldn't in good conscience keep an account like that running anymore. As a result, both the Chuggaaconroy channel and the Runaway Guys channel went into a subscriber death spiral, which does look bad on Social Blade, but doesn't actually mean too much, since the golden age of Let's Playing is over, and a lot of those are probably just dead subs. Their monthly view count dropped off a fair bit too, and considering that most of those views were just residual clicks on old videos, that probably added up to a decent chunk of passive revenue that was lost. Probably the most noteworthy response, though, was from those two other people that made up the Runaway Guys. After the initial Lady Emily accusations, but before the lolly ones, they announced that Chuggaaconroy was backing out of their MagFest appearance, which I'm pretty sure everyone expected. But ProtonJon and NintendoCapriSun went two different directions on the whole thing. Let's check out ProtonJon's response first.
You are bothered by a group of people who are doing no harm to anyone, existing, and finding themselves, and actually becoming happier with themselves because they have lived through shit that has driven them insane. You need to reassess your life. Straight up. Nice. I grew up in a Christian upbringing. I was grown up showing that two things. I was shown that you shouldn't like gay people and you shouldn't like trans people. Yo, say trans rights, I'll buy you a Beyblade. I am literally holding a Beyblade in my hand right now. Trans rights, motherfucker. It's
clear that ProtonJon is a pretty progressive guy politically. He doesn't talk about politics much on his social media accounts, but he does retweet progressive causes occasionally in between gaming and convention stuff. By the way, that's okay. You can believe in whatever politics you want, but ProtonJon comes off, to me, as a normie progressive, if that makes sense. Like somebody who's not too politically educated, which is fine, it's not his wheelhouse. He strikes me as someone whose political opinions are based on the fact that his friend group, his audience, everyone around him are also progressives, and so he's one too. We're actually both Canadian, and we were mutuals way back in the day on one of my old band accounts. But a few years back, I remember saying hi to him, and he replied with, "I have no idea who you are, you racist." So it's like, okay, dude. After the allegations dropped, ProtonJon said that he knows everyone wanted him to make a statement, and that he will make an in-depth one. But for now, he's just disappointed, confused, he doesn't condone anything that's come out, and he's currently processing his feelings. On February 2nd, he put out his own Google Doc containing his statement, but thankfully it's only one page long. In it, he does the usual "I don't condone, I stand with the victims" thing, but then not only does he say that the Runaway Guys are going on an indefinite hiatus, but he's also distancing himself from Chuggaaconroy. Any content that's already been recorded for the Runaway Guys will likely never be posted, and if it does, it'll be in the far future. ProtonJon and NintendoCapriSun are going to start projects without Chuggaaconroy, and their live show at conventions, their own controllers, will continue on without Chugga's branding and involvement. So this seems to me like ProtonJon is 100% throwing his friend under the bus. Not just professionally, but personally too. ProtonJon unfollowed Chugga on all social media, and he also dropped some public support for Masae, despite how weak her claims were. Considering that he strikes me as, like I said, someone who gets his politics from his friend group, rather than any deep-seated moral conviction, I personally think this is a preservation tactic. ProtonJon sees the writing on the wall when it comes to Chugga, and he doesn't want to get cancelled either. He's been on the internet a very long time. He knows how this shit goes. In fact, when it comes to finding yourself under the piercing gaze of the progressive Twitter cancel mob, ProtonJon is probably himself a little bit worried. It's common knowledge that he got his start Let's Playing earlier than Chuggaaconroy did, back on the Something Awful forums in 2007, and he was one of the pioneers of bringing that format to YouTube. Something Awful is a forum started by Lowtax back in 1999. By the way, Lowtax was an early internet celebrity, before we even called them that. Before the internet was centralized onto the large social media sites of today, places like Something Awful, Newgrounds, and 4chan were basically the hotspots of the 2000s era internet, and the culture of those places was significantly edgier and more risque than anything on the internet today. As a result of ProtonJon's former connection with Something Awful, and the type of content that was regularly posted on that site during its heyday, younger progressives have occasionally tried to cancel him over his past. They never really go anywhere though, and so far ProtonJon has skated by unscathed. Frankly, he seems kinda like H-Bomber Guy, or iDubbbz, or anyone else with trolls remorse. He's the only member of the Runaway Guys who is explicitly political, explicitly progressive, and in my opinion, probably the only one with skeletons in his closet.
Yeah, like this is definitely Something Awful, people. I can tell from all these.
Mode.
Yeah, it is a mystery.
That's a good one.
There's Sonic. I'm going to assume, yeah, there's the something awful grenade. There's a dick, because why not? Someone's face. Oh, yeah, there you go. This is definitely a something awful system when you see that.
As a friend of mine likes to say, this is to the day we find out what you're hiding, ProtonJon. With NintendoCapriSun, though, it's a different story. In ProtonJon's doc, he mentions offhandedly that Chugga took a break from the internet, but it's NintendoCapriSun who appears to be sticking by him, helping him, and consistently updating the internet on his status. On January 26th, one day after the lolly document dropped, NintendoCapriSun posted on Reddit that Chugga was in the psych ward after having a mental break due to all the allegations, and he also might have tried to kill himself, though the post is intentionally vague about it. NintendoCapriSun also confirmed that Chugga had internal bleeding due to stress ulcers that the doctors had to deal with. Chugga called the house twice, first to talk to NintendoCapriSun, second to talk to his girlfriend. The first conversation was minutes after the lolly allegation came out, which means that when he was institutionalized, it was over the Lady Emily and the Masae stuff. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you're in one of these places, you don't have access to your own phone or to the internet. You're completely cut off from the outside world. He was already having stress ulcers and breakdowns before the hardest hitting allegation dropped. Having to hear the lolly one over the phone probably ruined him. Chugga also said that his friends should distance themselves from him in order to not get destroyed themselves. The second call was an hour later, to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend later confirmed that he had taken some pretty heavy medication and sounded like he was mellowing out.
Is this real life?
Chugga's intention was to move to his girlfriend's place in Scotland after he got out, and then basically lay low, stay offline, take a long break from making content. Chugga shared a house with NintendoCapriSun, which he was just going to let him take over in the interim. By January 28th, Chugga was back home, and he was just staying offline and talking to his friends about what happened. NintendoCapriSun said that although he still held Chugga accountable, he wasn't going to give up on his friend. He also reported that Chugga lost at least 5 pounds during the 2 days he was in the psych ward, and that he intended for his off-grid retreat to Scotland to start after he put himself together a little bit more. As the controversy wound down and people moved on, it was NintendoCapriSun who would give Chugga fans updates on his health and life.
How's Chugs? He's doing alright. He got some bad news a couple nights ago about his mom. I probably shouldn't be saying this on here, but she might have cancer. We don't know yet. It's going to be another week before we find out. But, ugh, poor guy just can't catch a break, I tell you.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking brutal. Poor Chuggaaconroy. But you know what? What a stand-up guy NintendoCapriSun is. Compare the reactions of these two people. One just tosses his former pal under the bus and moves on, trying desperately to not have his own progressive fan base turn on him. The other one sticks by his friend, not letting him off the hook for anything he might have done, but understanding that he is a person, and not the amalgamation of what the worst parts of the internet thinks about him. I recall when a friend of mine, Food Shops, was looking over my coverage of Super Mega, and she said that my focus on the progressive politics of the people involved was unnecessary. I disagree, and the difference between the reaction of these two guys is a great example of why. One is progressive, the other is apolitical. One stabs his longtime friend in the back, the other doesn't. There is something in progressive politics. It's not exclusive to them, but oh boy is it a core part. That means purity spirals, no forgiveness, online lynch mobs. This belief that you have the objectively correct views, and your ideas are beyond reproach, beyond debate, naturally leads to the connected belief that someone who doesn't think like you, or doesn't adhere to your morals, they're not simply mistaken or uneducated, they're evil and they must be eradicated. ProtonJon may or may not feel this way about Chugga. We can't know, we're not in his head. But I guarantee you, his audience feels this way. Chuggaaconroy remained offline for several months. It's during this period that the narrative surrounding him was set into stone, and the general public began to move on to other topics. Nobody was really talking about him anymore, but if he did come up in passing, the average response was something like, "Oh yeah, that guy? Wasn't he the Let's Player who raped a child and harassed a trans girl for nudes?" Completely wrong, of course, but that's how games of internet telephone work. And for people who were more in the know and followed the drama extensively, they went back and retroactively treated Lady Emily and Masae's accusations with even more seriousness, now that the lolly accusations had run their course and totally destroyed Chugga's life. And for a long time, that was that. The story seemed like it was over. But little did anyone know, we were all going to be revisiting and questioning everything that came out during those 2 weeks in January soon enough.
Or I'll walk out of this arena!
My life is like a video game, trying hard to beat the stage.
On April 10th, 2024, NintendoCapriSun leaked on a Chugga fan stream that Chuggaaconroy was almost ready to come back to the internet, and that he had receipts.
But I get the sense, the vibe that he's close to finished with it. So.
Oh, good for him.
That's good.
There is that.
Good for him. That's awesome.
Is it going to be like a twit longer or like a video statement?
Oh yeah, people are asking that, yeah.
I think it's probably going to be like a Google Doc or something to that effect. I kind of wish
Fair.
he'd do a video, but because that's what I would do. But I guess being autistic, though, it's like people will interpret your body language as, oh, he's lying here or something like that. So.
Yeah, because some people are asking if he's going to do it like how Pro Jared did it when he gave his receipts.
Yeah. He's
I suppose.
got a few receipts, so I can.
Oh, good boy.
That's good. That's
what we want.
Almost 1 week later, on April 16th, on the promised day, he returned. Chugga finally broke his silence and dropped a huge Google Doc containing a bunch of evidence showing that what was said about him during his absence was either misinterpretations, it lacked context, or it was just downright lies. He begins by saying that he feels ready to finally respond to everything, and it's unfortunate that he has to reveal information about others in order to clear his name, but it's clearly become necessary at this point. Sounds juicy. Let's get into it. Even though this is the last section that Chugga covers in his document, I want to talk about it first. His time in the psych ward. Chugga describes how the online speculation about his apparent misdeeds caused him so much stress that he lost 8 pounds in a week. He developed internal bleeding, and he was in the ER twice for blood loss. That, combined with his mother's own health problems, led him to consider suicide. He called the suicide prevention hotline, who promptly sent people over to his house and carted him off to the psych ward. Chugga describes the worst night of the whole ordeal as being locked in an unheated concrete cell. He provides some paperwork from the psych ward where he claims that he was diagnosed with psychotic depression, which he's now on meds for. He also shared some mental insights that he gained while locked away, with the help of another patient named Destiny. Hey, that's a girl's name.
The name of a beautiful woman. Who might be a dancer.
Chugga goes into extreme detail on a lot of topics here. His mental health, his childhood where he only had his mum around, his sexual dysfunction stemming from an assault he suffered when he was very young, and how all of this has affected his relationships, as well as the foot fetish thing. I'm not going to go into any of this. It's all in the document if you want to read it for yourself. Chugga says that he feels like he has to lay all of this out, put it out there in the open, in order to get people to believe that he's not the abuser he's been painted as by these women. I don't think any of this stuff necessarily surprised die-hard Chugga fans, as he's spoken openly in his Let's Plays about not having his dad in his life, due to a cornucopia of abuse, to the point that fans have actually made a compilation of every time he's let slip some information about his dad. Chugga's document adds more context to a lot of those comments that you can find peppered across his various Let's Plays, and you can go hunt those things down and put the pieces together for yourself if you want. I'm not going to do it in this video, because frankly it adds nothing to the story of the accusations made against him. Chugga then thanks his girlfriend, his mom, and NintendoCapriSun for caring about him so much during his time away from the internet, as well as all of his fans who stuck by his side. A very noticed absence in his thanks was ProtonJon, though he did say that he called an unnamed friend after he got out of the psych ward, and wanted to explain himself, and this friend said what Chugga characterizes as unintentionally harsh things. This conversation enraged Chugga's girlfriend, who told him that some people will just never come around, but that doesn't make him a bad person. I have no reason whatever to think this. This is just a dev hunch, but my gut tells me that this guy was probably ProtonJon. There's also a section in Chugga's document about Masae, that female Let's Player who claimed that Chugga made her feel uncomfortable regarding how he spoke about her and other women, and how he pressed boundaries, and how she felt like due to his extremely large size as a creator, she couldn't enforce a boundary on him without her career being in jeopardy. Well, Chugga reveals that unknown to anyone except their close friends, they were actually engaged.
You what?
Yeah, they were getting fucking married, guys. They'd been dating for years. Chugga specifically says that although they had been together for a decade, Masae insisted on keeping their relationship private, off the internet. But everyone they knew in real life, including ProtonJon and NintendoCapriSun, they all knew. After the engagement, Chugga wanted to go public with their relationship, since, you can't really keep that a secret forever. But Masae insisted on keeping it private even then. And even after they broke up, Masae wanted it kept private, and Chugga honored that request, until she threw him under the fucking bus. Chugga says that they had a very difficult breakup, that he didn't take very well, and he regrets how emotional he got. He also reiterates that just as she never wants to hear about him again, he never wants to hear about her again. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but to me, this is fucking insane. Go back and read that Masae thread. You know what? Here, I'll post it again. Pause this video and read the whole thing. Nowhere in this does Masae mention that her and Chugga were dating for 10 years and they were planning to get married. When she says things like, I'm uncomfortable with the way he's talked to or about me in the past, or how he's spoken to or about women in public and in private is concerning, or Chugga pushes boundaries and facing his large following is a career risk, so not rocking the boat is a safer option. Or, for my own comfort and safety, I won't be attending events that he's at, unless it's large and public enough that I can avoid him. All of these quotes make Chugga sound like a giga rapist that has left Masae utterly traumatized. But now that we know they were dating, everything here hits differently. This no longer reads like two friends with a massive power imbalance where one is pushing past boundaries. Now it sounds like an ex-couple trying to navigate a messy breakup and having awkward interactions, figuring out what's appropriate for their new dynamic. Masae didn't include the truth about their relationship, presumably because it would have punched a hole through her canceling attempt. When this was first dropping, people were saying, oh look, another woman's come forward, here's another one. This is how canceling attempts work, guys. You overwhelm your target with stories of various levels of quality, hoping they all kinda smear together and get accepted as one mass. The truth of Masae's prior relationship with Chuggaaconroy is the kind of thing that you would leave out if you wanted to cancel him in this scenario, but not if you were interested in telling the truth. In fact, fans began to go back to their old appearances together in order to build a narrative that way. People were posting their old public pictures and saying, look at how creepy he is, he's hanging around her so much. Or they were going back to old Let's Plays they did together and recontextualizing jokes from back in the day.
I am the one in the dress.
Aww. Yay! Gender stereotyping! Yay!
Yay! I'm so proud of myself.
That's actually not a good thing.
No,
Don't
yeah,
do that. Let's not.
I'm looking up Masae's dress.
What?
Why are you here at the recording with a dress on? That's really weird.
Well, she had to really get into the character.
Yeah, people actually went back to that and said, clearly this is part of the boundary pushing that Masae suffered under Chuggaaconroy this whole time. But remember, that was a 4-person Let's Play with ProtonJon and NintendoCapriSun. They all knew that Masae and Chugga were together. This is very clearly just awkward public flirting between a private couple. Now, I'm not saying that you can't abuse your partner in a relationship, obviously. What I am saying is, if Masae wanted to come out with a statement, and really there was no need for her to do so, she just wanted to pile on Chugga. But if she did want to, including the fact that you were dating for 10 years is fucking crucial to the story. Without that context, Masae's story simply reads like Chugga had a friend who was a woman, and he acted weird and creepy toward her, which 1, closes the door on the various non-abuse explanations that come with knowing that they were actually a couple, and 2, obfuscates Masae's own possible motivation of wanting to kick her ex while he was down. One day later, Masae returned with her own statement, where she basically confirms it all. She admits that they were engaged, that they kept it secret at her request, that she wanted to keep keeping it secret because she disliked the social pressure, and that her objective with her previous post was to just be left alone. Bitch, you threw fuel onto the fucking fire! We don't condone the harassment of any party. Of course you fucking don't. Now that the internet scrutiny has descended on you instead of your ex, where the fuck was that energy when you were digging your boot into the guy? Did you ever say, please don't harass Chugga in your original statement? Of course not. You simply laid out all the ways that you felt harassed by him, and then let everyone come to the conclusion that you knew they would come to. And then you let that falsehood linger for 3 fucking months until Chugga came back to the internet and actually told the truth. And you know what? So did everyone else too. Remember, it was public knowledge in real life among their friend group that Chugga and Masae were in a relationship. All of these people knew, and none of them said a thing when Masae dropped her allegation and left out that crucial component. ProtonJon and NintendoCapriSun knew too, and they just let this bitch get away with it. Okay, to give the devil his due, the only person in this friend group who was in contact with Chugga after he got thrown into the padded room was NintendoCapriSun. And considering how forgiving Chugga's being to everyone in this document, maybe he just told his pal on the outside to not reveal her secret. So you know what? Fair enough. At this point, though, I'm kind of wondering.
One other thing. Oh, one more thing. Oh, there's one more thing, sir.
How did no one outside of their friend group discover this relationship for over 10 years? You think that some fan would have seen something or overheard something at some convention or on a stream or whatever, but during my digging for this video, I found some old comments where fans remarked on their chemistry or saying that they were cute and they should date, but apparently no one put it together. There's a vlog channel, Steven Vlog. Yeah, he literally just does vlogs of his daily life. It sounds kind of weird now, but it was a popular genre on YouTube back in the early 2010s. No, I'm not doing the classroom thing again. I hope you kids at least remember that. Steven regularly visited and hosted Chuggaaconroy over the years on his channel, and nearly every single time Masae was with him, whether Steven went to Chugga or Chugga went to Steven. They always sat together on the couch, or at restaurants, or around a table. They always teamed up with each other for couples board games, or video games, or things like that. Really? No one picked up on what was going on? In fact, the few times that Chugga actually does act a bit relationship-y on camera, even if only in a goofy manner, Masae very quickly rebuffs him. You know what? If the cancel pigs can armchair analyze Chugga's interactions with Masae as predatory before the knowledge that they were dating came out, I can do the same regarding Masae's on-camera spurning of Chugga now that we know they're a couple in all of these videos. I have no proof of this, only my gut feeling, but she's almost acting ashamed to be publicly known by the wider internet as the girlfriend of Chuggaaconroy. Probably the biggest example of what I mean is the vlog where Steven goes on a tour of the house that Chugga just bought. Masae very clearly talks like she's also a guest who just happens to be there today.
Structurally, you have a really nice house.
That, yes.
It's not their house, it's his. But at the same time, in their comically huge closet off the bathroom,
Is that a ginormous walk-in closet?
It's bigger than you think it is, actually. There's
Oh,
more to it.
what the?
You can rent this place.
What the heck?
holy shit, that is a huge closet, her clothing is clearly visible in the background along with his. Again, this is just vibes, I have no proof. I've just personally known women who have kept relationships with their boyfriends a secret before, and it never goes well for either of them. Maybe Masae doesn't want to be known as the girl who jumped the bones of a popular creator in order to get ahead in the Let's Play space. Maybe she's embarrassed of Chugga because, let's be frank, he's clearly on the spectrum, and she doesn't want to be known as his girlfriend for that reason. By the way, I don't care about that. I'm making the claim that she's cruel if she cares about it in that way. Or maybe I'm just overanalyzing this. It's a fair criticism if you think I'm reading in between the lines a bit too much here. However, in preparation for this video, I've now watched hundreds of hours of all of these people's Let's Plays, streams, vlogs, and I just can't shake the feeling that Masae was embarrassed of Chugga, of the fact that she was dating him. She wanted the relationship kept secret while they were together, and she wanted it buried after they broke up. This community did a competitive live show at various conventions, starring the main 3 runaway guys, but also with a ton of guests, based on whoever was in attendance. Whenever one of the main guys couldn't make it to an event, they always had a cardboard cutout of their missing friend, as a fun little thing. During their April 2023 event, neither Chugga nor NintendoCapriSun could make it, leaving ProtonJon as the sole host. And you can see both of their cardboard cutouts in the background on stream. But as soon as Masae joins the stream a little bit later on, they remove the Chugga cutout during a break. Remember, no one outside of this room, as well as any absent big creators in this space, knew that they were a couple. This was 8 months before Chugga would be cancelled, so why remove his cutout? It's a bunch of small things like this, glances, or comments, or body language, or awkward pauses, or what topics they're avoiding, hundreds of tiny things, that all contribute to this vibe that I can't help but feel. I think Masae was embarrassed of her boyfriend during their relationship, and after it was over, I think she was embarrassed of herself for having associated with him. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that any of these people owe us a look into their personal lives. We're viewers, not their friends. We have no right to know what they want to keep from us. However, Masae, if you're going to come out with these allegations and then deliberately hide crucial information that makes your position look weaker because it's private, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt from me. Unfortunately, there's no more details to the story, at least none that I can find. We know that despite the mountains of public evidence, they somehow kept their relationship secret from their fans. We know that the breakup was so bad that neither wants to hear about the other ever again. We know they've both moved on with new partners, and we know that it was Masae who wanted their relationship kept secret, even as the years went by, even as they were planning for their wedding, even after their breakup. And it was Chuggaaconroy who honored her request, until she tried to destroy him by leaving that fact out of her allegations. My intuition is telling me a lot about her motivations here, but intuition isn't proof. You guys can decide to believe what you want about her, but personally, I think she's disgusting. There's also a section on Lolly in this document as well. Chugga says unequivocally, he's not a pedophile, he's not a groomer, he was just an idiot teenager who made dirty jokes. He's 34 years old now, and he doesn't stand by the nonsense he might have gotten up to online back in the day. He puts into context just how long ago 2010 was. There was no runaway guys yet. He had never appeared at a convention, and he was working on his first ever Pokemon Let's Play, which I think was his 7th overall. It was pretty early on in his career. Chugga accurately describes the internet of that era as a place where people could escape the censorship of the real world. And oh boy, do I fucking miss those days. Chugga hones in on one specific comment, the "I'm going to rape you" one from early in the logs. He explained that this obviously wasn't serious. It was from a 2010 meme of a video where a guy was screaming at his cats, which everyone back then laughed at and quoted, myself included. I forgot this thing existed, but oh boy, what a blast from the past. He also similarly explains the pedo crush thing, saying that while he doesn't remember saying it, it was probably a pedo bear reference, which was also a 4chan meme from that era. Dunking on lollies and pedos was just a normal part of the internet culture back then, and dredging it back up now to destroy people is ridiculous. Frankly, the internet was just not the mainstream in 2010. It was kind of a secret clubhouse, and to retroactively treat it with modern sensibilities is just stupid. Chugga also states that he cut contact with Lolly after he could no longer convince himself that he was just obliviously having edgy conversations with a 15-year-old fan who just happened to have a dirty sense of humor. Things continued to escalate until she sent a sexually explicit gift to his house. Chugga then points to the moment in the logs where he received the gift, and it was shortly after this they stopped speaking. According to Chugga, Lolly approached him 10 years later at a convention, and they became friends again, which is why they began speaking on Discord. Chugga then provides more logs that Lolly left out of her document.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Based on my past rejection of you, I don't think I have to justify that I wouldn't to you.
You rejected me?
Okay, I was gonna say the story when we were in a call, but I guess this is on topic.
Oh god!
So that shirt you sent me, my mom found it soon after I got it and asked me why the heck I had something like that. I told her, you sent it to me. She immediately goes, that girl has a crush on you. I go, oh, well, she's 15. I was 19 at the time. My mom told me I can't associate with you and it was dangerous, so I'd better keep my distance. As much as I like spending time with you, I chose to slowly fade out and hope you'd find someone else. That's why I fell out of your life for a few years.
Oh, this makes sense. I was gonna say, I would never have told you I had a crush on you. I was a big chicken.
I knew. At least I was pretty sure of it. Once my mom said that, I sort of analyzed a lot of things you'd said and done. It made a lot more sense after that.
Did you think I was a cop or something?
I mean, I was pretty sure you were you, but I didn't want to abuse you or hurt you with an unfair relationship. So regardless, it was a hard no for me at the time.
Honestly, as an adult, I appreciate that you set a boundary.
I'm glad. I was worried you wouldn't like me anymore back then because I was intentionally snubbing you at least some of the time. It was something of relief when you were happy to see me at Con Bravo.
I just figured you were busy with life and moved on.
I kind of had that as a passive excuse. I was hitting the big time around then. I've always enjoyed spending time with you, but at those ages, I wasn't going to let something develop on either side. I wanted you to go find other people. You were still a kid and wouldn't have that time again.
This paints Chugga in a significantly more responsible light than Lolly's original document. Yeah, he should have picked up on it sooner. Maybe he actually was a bit underdeveloped like I theorized. But when he finally got it, it sounds like he did the right thing. And it also sounds like Lolly appreciated it too. Here they are in 2021, looking back on their childhood and laughing. They both seem okay with everything. No one's hurt, no one's traumatized. So why did Lolly leave this part out of her retelling of events? It sounds like she just wanted to fucking destroy this guy too. The next bit though, this is wild, guys. Chugga says that after they reconnected as adults, Lolly admitted that her goal was to manipulate him into having sex with her while she was underage, like actual jailbait. Check this shit out.
My ex told me that younger was better, so I thought you'd like me more if I told you my age.
Yeah, I would not have gone for a 15-year-old when I was 19, so I can't say I can agree with him there. 4 years isn't so bad this far in, but at 15, you're still finding a lot of what life is, and I'd see that as predatory.
Yeah, when I was underage, I wanted to fuck an older guy so badly, LMFAO. It just so happened all the predators around me were inept as fuck, and I trolled them for being thirsty, Lamau.
Oh my god, oof. I'm very thankful you didn't end up with one of those. Holy shit, I guess your ex really warped your views.
He really did. Thankfully, I have zero sexual attraction to people unless I love them, and all the thirsty weirdos didn't do it for me. I was and am an asshole, so I literally just fucked with them.
Man, here I thought you had a harmless childhood crush on me. They don't even want to fuck me ASAP.
I am violently sexual.
But absolutely, I would not have let you do that regardless of how well we got along.
Younger me would be disappointed. Current me appreciates it.
Fucking hell, this is insane, guys. Like, yeah, it's still on the adult to say no. This is still an underage girl here. Well, it's an adult woman talking about her motivations while she was underage. You know what I mean? The point is that even if it's on the adult to say no, it's absolutely fucked up that a 15-year-old is going around wanting to get fucked by a grown-ass man and trying to solicit predators. It's still the adult's fault if they do it, but there is no way you can tell me that Lolly is this innocent, blameless child. After this, I saw takes floating around on Twitter where people were saying shit like, I can't believe we've shifted blame off of Chuggaaconroy onto the minor he was being sexual with. I guess people will support their favorite creator, even if he's a pedophile. Bitch, have you even read these fucking logs? Lolly is insane, dude. Lolly was insane as a kid for wanting to hop on some old man dick, and she's now insane for trying to cancel Chugga over it.
Bitch, are you for real?
Back in the logs, Chugga and Lolly revisit the same conversation a couple weeks later.
I remember, you were like really put off by my age. But I was like, I don't see the problem. Because my ex always talked about younger girls being better. So I was like legitimately confused.
You told me this story. It's kind of messed up.
It's honestly a miracle no one took advantage of me as a kid.
I'll say it is. You're very fortunate that way.
Like, I really wanted an older dude really badly when I was a kid. Like, I literally had a goal to have underage sex, and I was depressed when I turned 16.
I'm so happy you never got hurt back then.
RNG, right?
You were the luckiest person alive.
It is wild that Chuggaaconroy, looking back on it, understood what was wrong with Lolly, at least eventually. He backs off, he has her best interests at heart, and he still gets cancelled over it despite doing the right thing, because she came out and deceptively edited their interactions in order to paint him as this ultimate giga-predator, despite the truth being the total opposite. In Lolly's accusation doc in 2024, she says shit like he's creepy, he's a groomer, he pushed it on her, I was just an innocent kid, etc, etc. But in 2021, when she's also an adult, she admits that she was the one trying to trap him into some sort of underage situation. It is absolutely horrendous that Lolly tried to get multiple adults to have underage sex with her, only to turn around in 2024 and frame it like Chugga was preying on her. This bitch ain't traumatized. She's adding fuel to the fire. When it comes to their foot fetish roleplay as adults, Chugga admits that he was forward about it being sexual from the start. He was single at the time, and Lolly responded positively. They were both adults now. They had put their past behind them, so he thought it was fine. He talks about how he was happy they reconnected, how she called him a true friend, and how much it hurt to have to go through their old Discord chats and pour over a friendship that no longer existed in order to exonerate himself from her accusations. This all reads like Chugga genuinely doesn't understand why somebody he thought was a close friend would ever do this to him. Real quick, this is editing dev slapping this segment in during post. I somehow didn't notice this, but Lolly actually made another document replying to Chugga's return. There's not much that actually changes the story here, but I should go over it for completion's sake. Lolly says that Chugga's lying about ending their friendship. She claims that they kept talking on Skype after the AIM days and before the Discord days, but she has no Skype logs to prove it. However, she does show a Discord log of them talking in 2017, which proves that when Chugga said he cut her off for 10 years, that wasn't actually true. Lolly also reveals logs showing that in 2021, after they were both adults and Masae was out of the picture, Chugga expressed romantic interest in her. She didn't reciprocate, and not only did he not pursue it, he actually said that he's still entirely comfortable with just being her friend, and he's not going to throw her away due to the rejection. Lolly corrects a handful of other minor points in Chugga's document as well, but none of it meaningfully changes the accusations against Chuggaaconroy. It's clear that Chugga's timeline is not fully accurate, but where Lolly claims that he's lying or covering something up, there's no real proof of that here. And what she does show doesn't really add any new evidence that makes Chugga look worse. To me personally, this just feels like Lolly trying to get the last word in. The final part of Chugga's document that I want to discuss is the Lady Emily section. I saved it for last, even though Chugga wrote this in chronological order, because there's a lot more to her than meets the eye. And I don't mean the fact that she's tucking. Get ready for the deepest dive of this whole video. Long before Chuggaaconroy showed up with receipts, people were already beginning to doubt Lady Emily's story. On January 20th, 2024, 4 days after Lady Emily's initial post, and 4 days before Masae jumped in with her allegations, Lady Emily was already changing up her story. She said on Twitter that she had been seeing confusion about the timeline of events, so she dropped some more logs, just to show how out of nowhere Chugga's topic switches to foot fetish RP was. And to her credit, they are pretty out of nowhere. In the first log, they're talking about how she's feeling sick and she's down on herself. And then, out of the blue, he says,
"Now in return, I'm gonna need something from you."
What's that?
I think you know.
Play Xenoblade 3?
Not quite. Smirks, cartoonishly attacks you as you sit there and tries to remove your shoes. Almost got them.
Yes, it's cringe central. I feel like at this point in the video, we're all overloaded on cringe, to the point that none of this will even faze us anymore. And these logs do continue on like this, with Chugga awkwardly derailing things into more foot RPs. But then we get something very interesting. Check this out.
I'll continue this joke with you if you want. It just sort of happened. I got the vibe you're enjoying it if you're playing along, and I like doing this sort of thing, so I feel like we're on the same page there. But I guess due to how much it could have been seen in hindsight, I want to tell you, this was just a game.
Oh yeah, I know. Absolutely. I don't mind.
Okay, I'm glad you feel the same. It's just a lot of people are into that.
Oh yeah, lol. But all good. All in good fun.
Are you fucking kidding me, bitch? In your initial post, you're playing it up like Chugga's forcing this foot RP shit on you, and you just couldn't establish a boundary because you're the helpless trans girl and he's this big popular YouTuber. But you say right here in the logs that you yourself post that you fucking consent. Look, you said you don't mind, it's all in good fun, right there. And Chugga said in his initial response that he already apologized and stopped this months ago. So why the fuck are you even coming out with this shit? This is unreal, guys. Pathetic. Lady Emily continued to post more logs and tried to spin them, but it just didn't work. Not after everyone noticed she explicitly gave consent. She then blames her anxiety and her depression for why she didn't just tell him she was feeling uncomfortable. And fair enough. But your inability to do that doesn't make him an abuser. And even if he made her feel creeped out, she certainly wasn't creeped out enough to not accept the shoe gift, or to not post pictures to him of her wearing them. Everything Lady Emily posted in this follow-up actually made her claims worse. She then did a second follow-up post on February 8th, 2024, where she says people who advertise themselves as being wholesome, welcoming online figures will happily ally themselves with blatant racists, transphobes, fascists, if it means they can defend a public figure they like and bond over attacking someone they hate. Who exactly did Chuggaaconroy ally himself with? Yeah, I know that Drama Farmers came out to cover the story, and those guys aren't exactly left-wing, but that doesn't mean that they're Nazis. Of course, these people are progressives, they think everyone who's not them's a Nazi. But even then, Chugga didn't ally himself with people covering the story. Lady Emily's brain sounds fucking cooked here. She then did a third follow-up post on March 24th, 2024, and this one is basically just a pity party. Lady Emily describes how, ever since she went public in January, people have been harassing her, telling her to kill herself. She got doxxed, her dad got doxxed, her dead mum got doxxed, and the internet's really scary. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. All this stuff sucks. But Emily, you literally attacked Chugga out of the blue over nothing. You tried to destroy his life over an erotic foot fetish RP that you consented to.
It's any consolation, I think you're a truly awful person.
So, with that groundwork established, what did Chugga have to say about Lady Emily in his April 16th receipts doc? Let's take a peek. He starts off by saying that a mutual friend reached out to him and told him that Emily felt bad about their previous interactions. He immediately messaged her, apologized, and was shocked because she had consented, which, you know, any reasonable person would be. He was also told that this story wouldn't go public if he got help, which he did. He started going to therapy, but Lady Emily made it public anyway. Chugga outlines how crushing it feels that despite his efforts, his former friends all view him as irredeemable. Chugga then confirms that while yes, he's in defeat, you all figured it out, buddy, his kink doesn't define every aspect of his life. When he bought shoes for Emily, it's because she said hers were broken. It was her birthday, and he was a good friend. Moreover, not only was it consensual on behalf of Lady Emily, it was also two-sided. Chugga provided a conversation that Lady Emily left out, in which it was her who initiated the role-playing session. She actually posted a boot icon from Paper Mario and said that it could be used against boss fights, which is clearly just some goofy video game humor. There's nothing sexual here, as far as I can tell. He's just got a weird thing about feet, and she's more than happy to reciprocate. Additionally, Chugga reveals that the whole Scotland thing, regarding where his girlfriend lives, that actually wasn't public knowledge before Lady Emily included it in her initial accusations, and that his girlfriend was actually really upset that her location had been leaked. It's everywhere now, the cat's out of the bag, but at the time this was at least some form of doxing, and including it served no real point in her accusations. Chugga ends the Emily section of his document by saying that he got consent from her. He checked in with her multiple times to ensure she was okay. He kept messaging her after she ghosted him because of his own issues and triggers, just as her issues and triggers prevented her from being more direct. When he discovered she was upset, he apologized to her. He told her he would get help and never do it again. And then he did both of those things. He got help and he didn't do it again. He was also told it wouldn't be made public, and then Lady Emily made it public months later anyway, basically on a whim. He finishes up by saying, "This isn't a case of, I only listened when I got caught. I did listen." Lady Emily put out her reply to this 5 days later, on April 21st, 2024. And oh boy, has she changed her fucking tune. She begins by saying that she wasn't going to talk about the situation anymore, but that the community has been so toxic towards her in the pursuit of accountability, and it's disgusting and upsetting. She talks again about how she was doxxed, her parents were doxxed, and that the backlash against her accusations has now become a harassment movement against her, which is, at least to me, fucking unhinged. She then posts examples of this so-called harassment. Let's take a peek. You murdered Chuggaaconroy. Liars have even been promised cruel and eternal punishment. Dante, in his Inferno, hurled them into the 8th circle of hell, along with other falsifiers, putting them one moral step below violent offenders. Do an RP when you transition, Lamau. Why would you dox someone? What is wrong with you? Boo, with a bunch of tomato emojis. You lied about things, even pertaining to your mom. We know what you did. TikTok Emily, the horde is coming for you. Guys, does this count as a harassment movement? I get more fucking hate than this anytime I go on Arch's stream, you know? This is just the normal life of being a YouTuber. And Emily, you've got just as many subs as I do. We both know what this is like.
You're so weak.
Lady Emily then points out the drama streamers who have been farming her, who have been calling her evil, who've been saying that it's fine to be attracted to children's figures, and that it's morally fine for a 19-year-old to date and flirt with a 14-year-old. What the fuck? Okay, when I started reading this tweet, I was thinking she was pointing at Chud Logic or something. But what's the rest of this all about? As far as I can tell, nobody's saying any of this. Also, there's a real classy sleight of hand here. She ages Lolly down from 15 to 14, because in his document, Chugga misremembers Lolly as being 14 years old, while also not aging Chugga down from 19 to 18, because he also misremembered his own age in the same document. You just gotta widen the gap by that extra year. You gotta scramble for every little bit you can, huh? But look at the bullshit that Lady Emily spouts next. Literally every move I've made this past few months have been documented, shared, hyper-analyzed, and attacked by the very same crowd, trying to present an aura of positivity and anti-harassment and anti-cancel culture. Please leave me alone. This situation should be over. Nothing good will come of this. Everyone wants to move on. Yelling at me will benefit no one. You'll just be sending harassment towards an autistic trans woman online in the interest of accountability, whatever that means. Emily, do you not understand what's happening here? What you're describing is what you tried to do to Chuggaaconroy. What you're currently experiencing, you wanted for him. You've opened this door, and now you're screeching at what's come through it. This is entirely on you. At the end, Emily says to Chugga, I'm genuinely so sorry for the mental distress caused by all of this, and I hope you can come out of this better and healthier than before. Look at the passive tone she's using here, guys. Like she didn't cause the fucking situation in the first place. Think back, my friends. Do you recall her motivation for doing this? Scrolling through Reddit and seeing dozens of comments calling the popular YouTuber who sexually harassed you for several months last year a wholesome being. She got fucking triggered because a Reddit post she randomly came across was praising Chuggaaconroy, a post that has since been edited to say, sub to Lady Emily, by the way. And it bugged her enough that she just had to go public by misrepresenting her private DMs with him as sexual harassment when she actually consented to everything happening. And she had already received an apology months before. And now she's saying, oh, I'm sorry how this whole thing turned out. You are the problem. Here is what seems to be the worst thing Lady Emily's ever done, at least when it comes to being a cancel pig on the internet. Everything else so far has been leading up to this. While the Chugga stuff was going down, and before he came back with receipts, the hashtag WeStandWithChuggaaconroy went viral among fans who thought the various allegations seemed a little bit fishy. A handful of small channels kept investigating, doing research streams. They began to deeply inspect all the logs and started to spin up conspiracy theories that they were faked, which Chugga himself would dispel when he returned.
The Discords were different. The Discord colors and the Discords themselves were different.
But nonetheless, some interesting stuff did come out of these Chugga Defense Force communities that began to spring up. NintendoCapriSun hopped on one of their streams on March 31st, on Burn the World 10's channel, and he dropped some more information. Two of the side allegations that piggybacked off of the main canceling attempt were from AntDude and MissFushi, both of whom vague posted about Chugga's misdeeds toward them after Masae came out with her allegation, and both of whom were also dating. NintendoCapriSun told Chugga's side of the story, since Chugga had no intention of officially addressing these specific allegations himself.
Is there any validity to Ant's claims?
Oh, that's the one that he wasn't going to address in the statement, which is why I might want to.
He wasn't? I was asking because.
But I can tell you what he's told me because I would like to tell the story if he's not going to.
As long as he's okay with stuff like that, yeah.
The messages. Even though Fushi said they could prove it, they never showed any evidence.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either, but that's a long story. But if you got popcorn, I can tell you.
Yeah, go for it.
Before COVID, about I don't know how long before COVID, Emil and Ant were going to do a collaboration together. They were planning it out and everything, talking about it in Discord, and somehow, I don't know how the subject came up about it, but somehow the subject came up of her, of Fushi, coming to hang out with them while they did their collaboration. And then at some point, Ant told him, well, no, she can't come to hang out with us. And at that point, Emil stopped responding. So, but people stop responding to conversations for all kinds of different reasons, but it's probably Ant took that to mean that, well, if Emil stopped responding, that means he doesn't want to do the collaboration anymore because she can't come. So this led into a series of misunderstandings where they thought that Emil was into her.
Oh no.
And this just happened over and over again.
Oh no.
So COVID came and went, and eventually all three of them were at a convention together. So Emil started messaging Ant about the collaboration, hey, can we, you want to maybe get back on this and try it again? Again, this is just what Emil told me, that Ant never replied to any of his messages. Until the con was over, at the last second, he replied while they were in the cab to the airport saying, oh, sorry, we're on the way to the airport now. So what he started doing was messaging her because he knew that she would actually answer her messages. So if he wanted to get in touch with Ant, he would message her. But they thought because he was messaging her and not him that he was into her. It's kind of confirmation bias, but at the same time, it's kind of understandable why they would think that. So I don't know. So he started going to her streams and watching her a little bit. And I remember because I was sitting in the room for some of them. But I wasn't sitting in the room for this one, but he said that at one of the streams, she started talking about that she was curious about the science behind kinks and fetishes and stuff like that. And so after the stream was over, he sent her a link to a page all about it. But I guess they also interpreted that as him being into her because he sent her a page about fetishes, even though she said she was interested in it on the stream.
So it happened from
it
happened from a misunderstanding.
Yeah. And then, okay, so
poor
what was
Emil.
the next one? There's two more. Okay, so then remember how Kirby passed away? At one of Fushi's streams, she was raising money for her cat because her cat was sick. And Emil donated to help out with that.
Did she get mad because he donated or something?
Actually, they did. They said he was simping.
Oh. Oh no.
But he was donating because he sympathized with her because he had lost his own cat. The last one was, at some point, me and Emil were talking about moving somewhere. And we had all these different places in mind, North Carolina, New York, Seattle, the UK, Canada. And we were going over all these different possibilities. And at some point, he started talking to a third party who I will not name. It's, you know what, it's Yo Schiller, screw it. And Yo Schiller's not involved in this at all, don't worry. But he was asking him, you know, does he know anybody who lives in any of these areas? And that's when Yo Schiller told him, well, Aunt and Fushi live in Seattle, so you could ask them what the living is like there, and maybe, you know, if you were thinking about moving there. So when he asked them, what is it like in Seattle, I was thinking about moving there, they thought he was trying to move there to get with her. So it's like, this is just a series of misunderstandings that happened, and that's why they said that he made them uncomfortable.
This sounds a lot like Chugga just being autistic and oblivious, which he has had a tendency to do this whole story, and his former friends and colleagues have used that to throw him under the bus once the canceling kicked off. However, here's the craziest twist to come out of this small sub-community, and to be honest, this is something that most people haven't noticed. No one's talking about it, because, well, the person who was affected has no clout, no platform, no voice, and their Twitter account's gone. So, I'm gonna talk about it. When Lady Emily dropped that one Woe Is Me update back on March 24th, a Chuggaaconroy fan named Mr. Dode quote tweeted it with the following message. I don't celebrate this. I completely disavow the people who say this. I will continue to let information on the situation be known, and let Emily's actions and omissions be known, but harassment is never condonable and cannot be tolerated. Emily replied with, no, sorry, you can't disavow this, while still contributing to this overall culture of harassment and misinformation. You can't spread lies about me, call me evil, say I deserve to be called out, and then disavow me. Here's what Emily included in this tweet. Examples of stuff that Mr. Dode said, which means that he cannot disavow harassment. Hoping Emily gets a massive call-out, pointing out that Emily gave consent for the foot stuff, pointing out that Emily did this to a man who had already apologized and was working on his issues, and calling Emily a massive liar. All of this is true, Emily. It is completely reasonable and normal and good to criticize your shitty behavior, while nonetheless saying that you shouldn't be doxxed or harassed or stalked in public or anything else like that. This is the position that a normal person would hold. After this, there's a deleted post from a deleted account. Mr. Dode replied to the deleted post by saying, all I said is that what happened should not be condoned and should be disavowed, and I'm not going to stand down. One of Lady Emily's fans replied to this with, bro, do not act like you were being rational or fair. You accused her of lying and omitting info and got in the trenches of the drama. It was a joke my ass. Dude had a pattern of it and asked her for fetish photos, pretending it was a birthday present. He wouldn't leave her alone about it. That's gross as fuck and scary too. And then there's a deleted post again. These deleted posts aren't on the Wayback Machine or on any other internet archive as far as I can tell. The only evidence of what was said here is on one of these We Stand with Chuggaaconroy streams. So I will let these guys describe what's going on.
This is the person that Emily sent after the person I have censored. They go question mark. I do personally hope she gets a massive fallout, to be honest. Bro, do not act like you were going to be rational or fair, and you accused her of lying and omitting. Got into the trenches of the drama. It is a joke my ass dude had a pattern of it and asked her for fetish photos pretending it was a birthday present, which is a lie already. But he wouldn't leave her alone about it. That's gross as fucking scary too. The person goes scary. I wouldn't exactly be quaking in fear by the words blargan. Bro thinks sexual harassment isn't scary. Like, do you think sexual harassment is catcalls and being touched by strangers? You never experienced the sinister realization someone is using you, and then could you at least extend it some fucking empathy? Okay, this is before, okay? But it started when I was 5. According to my dad, I reminded him of my mom, causing him to come up with an idea to make money. Of course, he had his friends to help him. I didn't understand what was happening, and I was scared. But I was asked not to question authority. Mom found out, of course, but Dad was very smart and very careful. He was sly and clever enough to win custody. So for 10 years, grades dropped, friendships fell off, and I continued to help my dad make money with money problems, sharing myself to his friends.
That just sucks.
By 10 years old, I was able to go to the library for internet access. I met many people there. We made jokes, told stories, and I had an actual community. When I started to make jokes and ask questions I thought were normal, I got concerned comments. They helped me run away. My dad wasn't paying too much attention, so I skipped away, stole money, and fled quickly to a different state north. I had to make sure I wasn't known to the public. I had to completely change my wardrobe, my hair, and lose weight. My dad was guilty for sex trafficking and CP. Of course, Dad killed himself before he can get any jail time. I got adopted by someone who I hid with her months, started attending school again, and graduated. So this person went through hell, right? I was a CP actor for my dad, and thanks to the stunt Emily just pulled, I'm considering closing up my account so I can hide better for those chasing after me, assuming they're not dead yet. Sympathy is for threatened my future. Fuck her and fuck you. Yes, Emily sent someone to harass someone who was a CP actor for their dad. It's just abhorrent that Emily wants to stop the harassment towards her, but will openly harass someone that's went through real world fucking awful
the worst of the
stuff. I mean, this is the death threat. I hope one day you look back on this and it kills you because how much of a genuine waste of oxygen you actually are. Genuinely, fuck you. That's one of the death threats. And then this is what Dostler gave me as a
death threat. I didn't get it at first.
Jesus. This is what this SSP person said to Dodster. What frustrates me is that I have to keep moving away, changing my name, removing my records. I keep hiding myself. I can't use my own contacts without fearing the worst. I thought for a second, just for a second, maybe I can have a social life online. Maybe I can tell my story. Maybe I can inspire and help people who have been hurt, similar to me, kids even. But no, I was noticed by someone important with a toxic fan base who wouldn't hesitate to silence people or make falsified evidence. I'm tired, mad, and grief-struck. There is nothing to be done. That's a statement from the person earlier.
If true, that is a pretty heavy story. Here's a look at those screen caps close up, if you want to read them for yourself. But basically, this is a woman whose father made child porn of her when she was younger, and rented her out to his friends in order to pay the bills. Now, you might ask, what does this have to do with Lady Emily? Well, this individual is currently in hiding, and when Emily posted those Mr. Dode screen caps, where he was talking to other Chuggaaconroy fans, Emily's own followers began to harass and dig into the information of everyone in those screenshots, which included the CP victim. After this, she deleted her account and left the internet because, according to her, some of her abusers are still out there and looking for her, and Lady Emily had inadvertently blasted a massive spotlight on her. Now, to be fair, there are a couple of problems here. One, we don't exactly have proof of this person's story either. We're taking her at her word that she was victimized by her dad. However, definitively proving her story requires either a look at her identity, along with some court documents or something, which I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to do, or seeing the CP, which I sure as fuck know I don't want to do. Problem 2, even assuming the story is true, while all of this is still pretty disgusting behavior on the part of Lady Emily's fans, Emily herself still isn't directly involved. But remember guys, these are very progressive communities we're talking about here. Every single time Chuggaaconroy fans talk about what's going on, they make it very clear, don't harass these people, don't contact these people. They do their best to restrain their audiences. You obviously can't control everyone, but these are the ethics that progressive creators do their best to abide by, or at least they claim they do. They pride themselves on not being harassers like Kiwi farmers or 4chaners. They say they want their communities to be safe, open, and honest. They apparently want to foster a space where people can honestly and openly criticize, while not enabling harassment against those they are critiquing. The people in the We Stand with Chuggaaconroy hashtag are mainly just the rank and file fans who have no clout of their own. And they do actually believe in these ethics, because they're also progressives themselves. That's why, even if their stream only has like 20 people watching, they still make it clear at every turn, don't harass anyone they're talking about.
I noticed that a lot of them have been getting harassed, and I would like to ask, please leave them alone. None of them are bad people. It was a mistake.
But whenever Emily talks about this topic, or any topic frankly, she never even makes the attempt to restrain her audience. And when she was called out for this lack of care, her response was in that April 21st update. Let's go back and read it again. My doxing was turned into a story of me doxing someone because I didn't blur out the username of a user who had been yelling at me in my mentions for months. I genuinely hope that Jane Doe is doing well and safe, and I'm sorry for what happened to them. However, trying to turn this into a harassment movement against me, especially by sharing her personal details to do so, is shockingly disgusting. This is like outrage Olympics, guys. Both of these people are claiming the victim identity as hard as they can in order to discredit the other side, and then exclaiming this moral outrage that how dare this evil thing be done to me, a victim. But only one of these two has ever said, don't harass the people I'm talking about, and it's not Lady Emily. In case I haven't fully hammered it home yet, here is the TLDR. Lady Emily lied about her own victimization. We now have receipts that show this. We have no evidence that Jane Doe is lying about her own victimization. Every time Lady Emily's critics have spoken about her, they've always said, don't harass these people. Lady Emily does not do the same. And in fact, she is more than happy to shine her very large spotlight wherever she chooses. And now Lady Emily is taking the fact that one of the people she spotlighted, who was subsequently harassed by her community, also happened to be a child rape victim. And she's taking this as proof that there's harassment against her, because Emily is now receiving backlash for who she's targeted. Emily, if you simply apologized, a lot of this would go away. In all of these various threads you've posted on this topic over the past 4 months, none of them contain a single admission of wrongdoing from yourself. It's always, I'm sorry you're hurt, or I'm sorry this happened, but it's never, I'm sorry I did this. And additionally, there's never been a single direction to your audience to not harass the people you're talking about. Now, I personally don't care all that much. You run your community however you want, but these are your ethics here. You are being judged by your fellow progressives for not practicing what you preach.
You sit on a throne of lies.
It really does seem like Lady Emily will do anything to avoid copping to any wrongdoing at all. What she's replying to in that April 21st thread is an accusation of harassment and hate speech made by one of her fans against AstralAlchemist and her community. Who's AstralAlchemist? Well, she was on that Chuggaaconroy Defense Force stream earlier. She's the Britbonger voice in there.
Do you think Emil could get a Scottish accent? I don't think that's how accents work. I don't think if I go to
I've
Germany...
heard his British accent.
I don't think I'll go to Germany for 1 month and I'll come back and I'll start having that strong German accent.
That'd be hilarious, though.
He can't do my... I've heard him try to do my accent, and it's amusing, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, she doesn't really have much of a community. That's not an insult against her or anything. I'm pointing out that this new claim that Emily's fan just has to speak up about is written as if AstralAlchemist can marshal some huge community to attack her detractors, when that's just not the case. She seems to be just an average Chuggaaconroy fan. Oh my god, this fucking document is like 59 pages long. It's actually longer than the lolly one. Okay, let's see if there's anything interesting in here. I formally accuse AstralAlchemist of inciting harassment against me by her community. What the fuck, do you think you're in Phoenix Wright or some shit? A formal accusation? What does an informal one look like? Well, this idiot takes offense at AstralAlchemist supporting Chuggaaconroy by retweeting and liking other Chugga defenders, by making tweets about it herself, and also by claiming that Lady Emily is lying about her story. Even though he credits her in the document with not actually attacking Emily, he still says that she's guilty of blatant hate speech and harassment encouragement of Lady Emily solely because she defends Chuggaaconroy. He then claims to be the recipient of harassment simply for standing up to AstralAlchemist. Here's some of the examples he provides. Criticism is not harassment, you simp. You see someone getting put on blast and think it's morally correct to jump right into the fray without doing any further digging. This guy then says, you cannot debate that these messages are harassment of myself, especially since they're personal insults, instead of any form of persuasive argument. Oh my god, there's so fucking much of this nonsense. This isn't even anything important. It's dozens and dozens of pages of a Lady Emily fan formally accusing a Chuggaaconroy fan of harassment, where the so-called harassment is quite literally just public disagreement, and not immediately sealing your lips to Emily's asshole every single time she says something online. This is not only retarded, it's entirely inconsequential. Why am I even reading this? Oh wait, I'm reading it because Lady Emily retweeted it. She attached it to her own claim and said, "This document does a good job chronicling a lot of what I've had to experience the last few months and how toxic the overall community has been toward me in the interest of accountability. It's disgusting and upsetting." Emily, do you think random Google Docs about autistic internet fans, where the harshest condemnation within them is, "I think you're wrong," is this toxic overflow of disgusting, upsetting harassment? I don't even know who any of these people are in the Chugga Defense Force. They just seem to be fans of the creators in this sphere. Who knows? Maybe they do have skeletons in their closet. But right now, their only crime appears to be, at best, being a bit too parasocial with their favorite creator, which has motivated them to investigate Lady Emily's claims in defense of their guy. They do have a reason to be biased against her, but the rest of us don't. And we all came to the same conclusion that they did, that Lady Emily is a liar. Her April 21st statement of "just please let me exist, guys, please leave me alone," without even an apology for anything she's done, just screams to me that she's a spiteful, vindictive bitch who gets a thrill out of claiming scalps on the internet. And she cries mercy only when she bites off more than she can chew. Here's your quick 1-minute recap if you want a clippable TLDR of the story. Lady Emily, a habitual liar, clout shark, and cancel pig, is scrolling on Reddit and stumbles upon a random comment where Chuggaaconroy is described as a good guy. She's so triggered by this that she claims that Chugga is a sexual harasser on Twitter who tried to get her to engage in foot fetish roleplay. In order to prove this story, she leaks their personal DMs, omitting all of the parts that show her consenting to these interactions multiple times. When this story fails to take off, MasaeAnela, a longtime associate of Chugga's, comes out and says that she also felt creeped out by him, also omitting the fact that they dated for 10 years. AntDude and MissFushi pile on by claiming that Chugga's contact with them is also creepy, when it turns out that that was also just normal friendly stuff as well. And when all of that fails to destroy his reputation, Lolly comes out with these 15-year-old logs to try and paint Chugga as a pedophile, again omitting the parts where she admitted while she was underage, she desperately desired and tried to bait older men into having sex with her, and she actually thanked Chugga as an adult in 2021 for distancing himself from her back then. And how does Chuggaaconroy react to all of this? Frankly, in my view, way too kind. Every time he posted a response, he apologized to the people trying to destroy him. He admitted some of his faults. He didn't shift the blame unduly to other people. He asked his audience not to harass anyone involved. He even privately messaged Jane Doe. Remember that no-name account with no followers or anything, who was forced by her dad to make CP, that Lady Emily inadvertently ran off the internet? Yeah, her. Chuggaaconroy contacted her and offered his condolences. And what does he get for all this? People are just spitting in his face, man. His hardcore haters are focusing in on the bits where he admitted some wrongdoing, and they're using that to say that they were right all along, and he really is the worst interpretation of what everyone said about him. I would like you guys to watch a clip from Chuggaaconroy's Mario Galaxy 2 playthrough, where he gives a short talk about how he views friendships.
Now, I said that I feel strongly about this level for two reasons, and one is that, yes, it does make me think of how bad I want Sunshine HD to happen someday, or for a new game in the vein of Sunshine to happen. But it also makes me think of a friend that is unfortunately no longer my friend. So, without going into this person's identity, because I do not advocate hunting people down and harassing them or whatever, things that they do, that's entirely their prerogative, and that's not what this is about at all. But there was a friend that I had a falling out with a few years ago, where we just mutually decided that it was best if we don't stay friends anymore. This person had they were legally blind. And they couldn't play, they could play video games, like they could see well enough to play most video games, but they had to be very up close to the screen. And because of games using pointer controls, they weren't able to play the Mario Galaxy games because you had to collect star bits and all that. And yeah, you could have a co-star with you to make that a little easier, but they were kind of lonely in real life. And so it's kind of like a nice gesture to them because they were kind of lamenting the fact that Mario Galaxy was one of the highest rated games of all time and they couldn't play it. And Galaxy 2 was coming out and they were sure it was going to be another huge blockbuster of a game. As kind of a nice thing for them, I played through the entirety of Galaxy 2 and I let them just kind of direct me through my first playthrough of the game. Now, this person was kind of an instrumental reason why the Super Mario Sunshine Let's Play on my channel happened in the first place. That was kind of always a connection that the two of us had. When we got to this level for the first time completely blind, not knowing that it was going to be a thing, we freaked out. It was such a happy moment and is one of the first things I think of when I think of this person. And honestly, to this day, I still do feel sad a little bit whenever I see it again, even though it is beautiful and it represents something that I very much have wanted for years and something that is very important to me. I do also kind of shed a tear at it, I guess. It's certainly a level that I have feeling... There's certainly no other level like it that I have such differing feelings on. And I don't mean that it brings down the middle level at all. No, I mean everything I say when it's a fantastic level and that I love it and I look forward to playing through it. And it really does make me want to have a Sunshine HD happen sometime, or, you know, just Sunshine 2 at least. But, yeah, it's just kind of a weird case. It's one of those strange things that has a lot of happy, but also kind of some sad things associated with it for me. So, I dug up that person's... I really still thought the world of the time that we had together, and I blame myself for a lot of what didn't work out about that friendship. But after a while, I remember that I dug up this person's Twitter account. This was like a good year and a half after we had decided mutually to stop talking, and I thought we ended things off nicely. Well, one of the things that I didn't like about this person was they would get very angry and very heated about things I just didn't think were really that big of a deal. And when I went and found their Twitter account, which was like the way that I was thinking about maybe reaching out to them again and trying to make things work again because I just felt bad about some things, I find them on this random day, you know, for a very long time now, openly insulting me on their Twitter account when we haven't even spoken in a year and a half, like they have nothing better going on. That was kind of what did it for me. It made me not really want to talk to them again, and I found out that a lot of the other people in that group of friends that I felt like I had, you know, that I felt like wouldn't want me anymore if I wasn't friends with them, they ended up leaving them too because they just thought that, they just kind of thought that they were a very hateful person and didn't really want anything to do with them. I ended up not really feeling so bad anymore for what I had left behind, and you know, I still think greatly of the time that I spent with them. And basically, what I'm trying to say is, even if you're not friends with somebody anymore, even if things aren't good between you and you anymore, even if you've grown apart, it doesn't mean you can't still cherish the good times that you had together. I certainly do, and this level is actual proof of that.
During the many, many long hours of researching this video, I have read a shit ton of Chuggaaconroy's private messages with all sorts of people. I've looked over his public statements and convention appearances. I've watched a handful of his Let's Plays looking for anything relevant to the story. I didn't watch them all, so I might have missed something. There's just too much stuff to binge in the span of a couple of weeks, which is when I really began knuckling down on this topic. But I think I have a decent grasp of who he is. At least as good as you can get without actually spending any time with the guy offline. He is remarkably consistent in how he acts and reacts, and it was actually pretty easy to get a handle on him. Chuggaaconroy seems to be a very kind-hearted, very soft, very innocent individual who is the victim of abuse, which has greatly shaped all aspects of his personality, from his sexuality to his ability to form and maintain friendships, to his various triggers and bad habits, and who, despite his lengthy career as a YouTuber, is utterly unfit for the harsh scrutiny of the internet. When the canceling kicked off, when the backstabbing finally came, he absolutely crumpled like a piece of wet tissue paper. He was simply too weak to withstand the onslaught of harassment that came his way. That's not a condemnation of him, by the way, it's just an observation. Ultimately, everything is the fault of the vile people who targeted him with all of their bullshit allegations. In the end, Chuggaaconroy made the same vital error that ProJared did. He waited too long to come out with his receipts. By the time he posted his Google Doc, the popular narrative had already been cemented. If it were me in his shoes, that's not a joke, I would be getting my ducks in a row and prepping to drop that document ASAP. That probably would have been better for him, but he just couldn't do it. Chugga's the victim here. He was absolutely destroyed. Remember, this guy was doxxed. His girlfriend was doxxed. He was getting ulcers. He was fucking institutionalized. All because everyone around him decided that now was the time to claim that scalp, to get that cred, for taking down a white guy in a position of influence on the internet. Chuggaaconroy's career is in tatters. He doesn't even know if he wants to come back to making videos anymore, and who knows what'll happen if he does. And all of these people who have piled on him, they're not getting punished, except for Lady Emily, who is by far the worst offender here, so there's that at least. But everyone else? They're all still going to conventions, doing public appearances, appearing on large streams, posting content, collaborating with other big creators, laughing it up like they didn't just destroy one of their longtime friends over fucking nothing. They're never going to see any blowback from any of this. We all know what's going on here. It's the same thing that happened to Mike Z from the Skullgirl story. Progressives simply do not care about those who suffer from autism, especially if they're white men. Guys like these are weird. They might speak strangely or they have odd body language, but they're just like everyone else. However, these very lefty, very safe, spacey women get the ick, and suddenly they're gaslighting each other into thinking minor social missteps are actually rape attempts that need to be publicly called out. Creators need to be deplatformed. Careers need to be destroyed. Meanwhile, these guys are sitting in the ruins of their life. Friends are gone, girlfriends are gone, family and jobs are gone sometimes, wondering what they did wrong. When really, even if they did unintentionally cross some line, most of the time just having an honest conversation would solve the problem. Oh, but we can't do that because trauma and anxiety and depression and whatever else means that nobody can ever make a proactive fucking move anymore. Fuck Masae, fuck AntDude, fuck MissFushi, fuck Lolly. And you know what? Fuck ProtonJon too, for being too much of a cowardly little shit to actually stick by his friend. The only real bro Chugga had in the entire friend group was NintendoCapriSun, who has shown himself to be loyal through and through. And most of all, fuck Lady Emily, who is genuinely one of the most vile people I've ever come across doing drama videos, and who constantly manages to escape responsibility because she's trans and leftist, which means among progressives online, you have the license to do the most heinous shit imaginable and not be questioned for it because of power imbalances and privilege, and whatever other bullshit you use to justify your god-awful fucking behavior. Emily, the internet would be a better place if you were off it permanently. And we've reached the end of the video, guys. I do hope Chuggaaconroy makes a triumphant return to the internet. He certainly deserves better than what he's been taking the past few months. I recall reading an offhand Reddit comment somewhere, where a fan claims to have bumped into him and his girlfriend at a convention recently. He wasn't appearing on a panel or recording collaborations or anything. He was just attending as a guest, like being on vacation. And he seemed to be doing better. I hope it's true. As always, thanks to Naomi, my girlfriend, and Dave, my editor, for doing some amazing voice work. And thanks to you guys for being so patient with me. I know I vanished for like a week and a half in order to finally knuckle down and get this thing done. So I appreciate you sticking by me. If you want to see more stuff like this, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or Subscribestar. In any case, I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. I love you.
What marking they up?
Hold on, Burn. I'm still in the bathroom. Please keep the stream paused for at least 30 more minutes. Thank you.
I hate you. Buddy. Get out.
Did he say 30 minutes?
Yeah, he said 30 minutes.
He's like a freaking cheese? What the hell?
I don't know.
He on that Taco Bell shit. Literally.
Ay, caramba.